Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Demilitarized Zone. This is the one stream designed to help you feel better about engaging in hot button issues with people you disagree with. Our goal here is to teach discourse survival tactics, not just farm gotchas and dunks. We are trying to cultivate meaningful, intelligent conversations where you have to stop and actually listen to the other person, even if it is just to poke holes in what they are saying. So please attack the belief, not the believer. At least for tonight, please check your weapons at the door, take notes, act like grown-ups, and refrain from the blood sports and shit-slinging that have been plaguing our society for far too long. Here, the audience does get a say, so there will be a link in the chat after each of the debates where you get to vote for the winner. Please limber up those voting fingers. It is free, after all, and exercise your democratic rights to decide which side made the most persuasive case. So one more time, we have Emmett on the affirmative. Emmett, would you please be so kind as to introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Emmett. I have a YouTube channel that's called it's called Count Emmett. I do art stuff over there. I'm a graduate on video game design and art, and I do ethics debates and sometimes some political debates. I enjoy very different types of debates and conversations. And yeah, I'm very happy to have this way with Leith. It's going to be interesting, I hope.
Very cool. And you guys I will drop that link. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, Chief, for dropping that link in the chat. Give that follow. We're going to go over to our opposition tonight on the negative. We have Lethy Waterkai. Please introduce yourself, sir. Tell us who you are and where we can find you.
Hey, yo, it's your boy Lethy Waterkai on all platforms. I'm sure a few people know me from around here, but I tend to talk politics, goofy stuff, and every now and again, horseradish manages to get me to debate someone. So that's what we're going to do today.
And I am honored every time. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and put 5 minutes on the clock. Again, as I said, Lethy asked to go first tonight, and Emmett said that was okay with him. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this over to you, Lethy. Whenever you are ready to start, please go ahead.
Okay. So morality is inherently a subjective construct, dependent on sentient interpretation. Without entities to perceive and evaluate actions, morality ceases to exist as a meaningful concept. Each individual defines morality through personal experience, while societal discourse shapes broader ethical norms. These collective agreements then filter into social frameworks that guide behavior, eventually forming the foundation for legal systems. However, these moral structures are neither universal nor absolute, and they are always downstream from the individual's own internal morality. What is considered just in one culture may be viewed as reprehensible in another. Thus, rather than being a rigid or innate principle, morality is fluid, shaped by context, consensus, and the evolving nature of human civilization. This fluidity does not render morality meaningless or arbitrary. Instead, it underscores its profound importance as a living, responsive force within human societies, because morality emerges from the interplay of individual conscience and collective experience. It carries the capacity for both remarkable progress and dangerous division. Throughout history, we have witnessed how differing moral frameworks have clashed, sometimes violently. When one group attempts to impose its internal sense of right and wrong upon another, from ancient tribal codes to modern debates over bioethics, criminal justice, and human rights, the tension between personal conviction and societal expectation remains constant. Consider how this subjectivity manifests in everyday life. An action praised as courageous self-defense in one community might be condemned as excessive violence in another. Practices surrounding family structure, economic fairness, or individual liberty vary dramatically across borders, not because one side lacks moral insight, no, but because their foundational experiences and interpretive lenses differ. Even within a single society, generational shifts reveal morality's malleable nature. Behaviors once widely accepted gradually become taboo, while previously fringe ideas gain moral authority through changing circumstances, new knowledge, and evolving empathy. This invites us to approach ethical questions with intellectual humility. If morality is downstream from individual interpretation, then genuine moral discourse requires listening before declaring, understanding context before judging, and recognizing that our own deeply held principles are themselves products of time, place, and personal journey. It challenges us to build bridges across differences rather than walls of moral superiority. Legal systems, while necessary for ordered society, should therefore remain adaptable, reflecting the best available consensus while preserving space for conscientious dissent and future evolution. Ultimately, embracing the subjective foundations of morality does not lead to nihilism. It leads to responsibility. Each one of us becomes an active participant in the ongoing creation of ethical norms. We shape morality through our choices, our empathy, our willingness to question assumptions, and our courage to stand by convictions, even when they swim against the current consensus. In an increasingly interconnected world, this awareness becomes not just philosophical, but practical. It equips us to navigate cultural differences, resolve conflicts, and pursue shared human flourishing without demanding uniformity of belief. As we engage in this discussion today, let us carry forward this understanding. Morality is not a fixed star by which we all must navigate, but a constellation we chart together, always open to new perspectives and new experiences, and better angels of our nature. By acknowledging its subjective roots, we gain the wisdom to treat it with care, seriousness, and the creativity it deserves. I will end my time there.
All right. So then, we're going to go ahead and put that 5 minutes back on the clock. This is now your time, Emmett, to go ahead and respond to, use as much of this as you want to question, set up your own arguments, et cetera, et cetera. This is still the cross-examination phase, but you don't have to use the whole thing. I'll start the clock when you start to talk.
So when you say that morality is subjective, do you mean that the subject is the one that decides what moral is?
It is subjective in the sense that it is an emergent property that comes from human consciousness and experiences.
Yeah, who decides what is moral?
Society decides what is moral.
So wouldn't it be collective then?
Yes, it does happen in a collective way, usually based on individual societies or tribes or whatever small group within 3 people that can
Individual
be a moral
societies?
system.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about societies and individuals, or are we talking about individuals as individuals?
Well, if morality were a objective thing, then we would all have the same morality no matter what culture, what society, what tribe. So it is collective.
So it is dependent upon the collective, right? The collective is the one that decides what moral is.
Correct.
And there is no actual standard of what morality is, right? You said that it's kind of like a constellation.
It's usually decided based on the sensibilities of the society and what the needs of that society are.
It is like a constellation or not?
It is definitely like a constellation.
What is a constellation?
Constellation is a grouping of stars or events or ideas.
Okay, if you don't know what a star is or a grouping of a star is, can you have an idea of what a constellation is?
A definition of a constellation is something that's arbitrary based on human definitions and language.
So you don't have a way to even know what a constellation is in your case? You're just making it up in accordance to your preferences?
Oh, unfortunately, society has given us ways of defining things. So in
That's not
each
the
language
question. The
system,
question is, I'm sorry.
what's your
This is
question?
my cross. That's not the question. The question is whether
Run
or
it back.
not is constellation just a made up term that means absolutely nothing except what you prefer it means.
Constellation is a subjective term that is used to define something that we have observed.
Okay, can you observe morality?
You can observe morality.
You can? Can you please tell me the object that tells you what moral is?
It's based on what the sensibilities of society is. As I said in my opening, one thing can be
Yeah.
considered moral
Wait,
by
wait, wait,
one
wait,
part of
wait,
society
wait,
and deemed
wait. You
immoral
said
by another group in
observe.
society.
Wait. We're talking about objects. You said it's an object that we observe. So you have to be able
Oh
to
no, I
sense
didn't
it
say it was an object.
with your
You said,
senses.
can you observe morality?
Yeah, can
You
you
can
observe
observe a
it?
moral act. You can
We're
observe a
talking
moral
about
act.
we're talking about something akin to a scientific method, okay? It's senses based. So you say observe. Can you observe morality? Can you have access to it physically?
No.
Okay, and so it's a morality would be observed in accordance to the preferences of whatever the group collective is, not the subjective, right? It's about the collective.
Say that one more time.
So the observation of it would be observing a thing we made up in accordance to the collective that we have, right?
No, not by what you just said. It would be observing actions, not observing morality itself. It's not an object.
Actions, yeah, but the actions that we're looking at, there we're looking them to the prism of this social construct. We build it up, we made it up, okay, and we decide in this build-up idea whether it's good or bad because of our collective experience with our, pairs.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much for the cross source, right?
All right. Now we're going to go ahead and go over to you. 5 minutes on the clock for your opening. Use as much as you'd like, sir. Start it up when you're ready.
Okay, so whenever we talk about when we see it directly with him, he says morality is subjective, and then he contradicts himself by saying, well, morality is not actually subjective, it's actually collective. What they mean is morality is in accordance to what we prefer. We, as in me first, because I will say that it's subjective. But the moment that I try to extract whether or not it is actually subjective, it's not. It's collective now. Why? Because it's all about power. All I care is about actually force or power, and all they really are meaning by this idea of subjective is that they experience it. So if whenever I talk with people as subjectivists, one of the things I ask them about is the sun. Is the sun subjective, or is it subjective? And they will mostly tell you a wumble mumble of things, but it ends up being objective because they have something that they can observe outside of it. With morals, they have a different kind of problem, because this idea of morality comes from what is good, and good is a subjective object, right? It's something that is mind dependent. It depends upon the mind. So if it's dependent upon the subject, it would be a fallacy of authority. Why? Because we're saying I am the one that decides what good or bad is. And when I ask you, well, why should we believe you? Why should I, as a different subject, believe what is good in accordance to you is actually good? And then they shift immediately. Well, it's not about me, it's about the collective. That's why we have laws. That's why we decide. Even though a second ago it was supposed to be subjective, so now it's collective. There's the first contradiction that we can find in his argument, but it's not the only one, because even when it comes to the collective, you ask them, well, if the collective decides what moral is, and you have two different moral standards for two different groups of people, which one is correct? They will tell you the one that I prefer, because they don't have an actual idea of what morality is or where to come from. It's just a construct that was made up and has been sustained by made up ideas. So is there anything good or bad in that idea, in that kind of ideation? No, there's nothing that is actually good or bad. In order for us to have access to good or bad, we need to have a standard, an actual thing that we can call upon that says, hey, this is good or this is bad. We usually, when it comes to the ideation of it, we have different ways to go for it. When we need to have something that is transcendental, something that can have universal properties, and we need a mind, because it's mind dependent, that will have that capacity of having these kind of concepts that are mind dependent and universal, for us to even say, hey, this is good or bad. Otherwise, good or bad is not actually a word that means good or bad. It just means what I prefer, or in his case, what my group prefers. So it's interesting for me to see these kind of ideas, because the debate in and of itself is, can we be moral without God? And the answer is, if you're talking about having a justification for morality, no. If you want to have like this imagination, this imaginative idea of what good is, oh, I imagine it to be good because I say so, then maybe you can say that. But at that point, aren't you exactly the same thing you would be attacking whenever you talk to one of these fundamentalists? Oh, it's the sky daddy, the thing they imagine, the thing they thought, whatever. They don't have any reason to believe in that. But I don't have any reason to believe in you or your society, or think that you have any reason to tell me what moral or good actually is, right? So in all, What I'm saying is we don't have access to what is good without having this idea of a transcendental mind for us to have a standard of what things are, right? Just like I asked when it comes to the constellation. If I don't know what the stars are and you tell me what a constellation is, there's no way for me to actually know what you're talking about. When you say, oh, this is good, and I ask you, well, what good is? And you say, well, I don't have a standard for good. How do I know you're talking about something that's good at all? And with this, I am sitting the 30 seconds of my time. Thank you so much. Well, one last time, sorry. Thank you so much for Horseradish to hosting the debate. You better hit that like and subscribe to him. And thank you so much to my opponent for accepting the debate.
Cheers. All right. So we will go back open to this. Lethe, 5 minutes is going on the clock. This is your time for cross-examination, sir. Go ahead and use it as you see fit.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
If a person standing on a cliff takes a baby and throws the baby off the cliff, did a good thing happen?
It would depend upon their society, right?
I'm asking you.
Well, I would say in accordance to the belief of God, something bad happened. Yes.
Okay, so in a world without God and a person throws a baby off a cliff, did a bad thing happen?
I don't know. It would depend upon the
So
society, right?
I'm asking you.
I'm telling you, it would be dependent upon the society. If there is no God and there's no standard of what good or bad is, the society, which is the collective that decides whether a thing is good or bad, they will be the ones saying if it's good or bad.
Are you a member of society?
I am a member of society, yes.
So you get a vote in what you consider is good or bad in society. So I'm asking you, in a world
Well,
without a God,
in
do
this
you think a bad
society,
thing happened?
in this society, I have a vote. But if I was in a different society, like a monarchy, I wouldn't have a vote. And I would still have my interpretation of maybe what is good or bad, but I wouldn't have any justification to say it is good or bad. It would just be a thing that happened.
So you can't collectively say what your opinion is in regards to an action that's being done.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter my
You're
opinion. It
incapable.
would be it
No, it
would be a
matters because I'm
collective.
asking you.
So
I asked what your
yeah,
opinion is.
again, it wouldn't matter my opinion. If my opinion is bad, but the collective decides that it's good, the collective is the one that would grant the right for people to throw babies off cliffs. Like they're doing right now with abortion, for example.
And you think abortion is good or bad?
I think it's bad, but society thinks it's
Okay,
good.
so that's perfectly fine. You're
Mhm.
entitled to that opinion. So you have given a metric of what you consider good or bad. Now, what
No,
do you ground that
I
in?
have a good reason to believe that there is such
What
thing
do
as
you
good or
ground it
bad
in?
outside of me. If there is no such thing as God, it's just my preference. I would prefer babies not to be killed, but it doesn't mean anything.
So subjectively, you would rather babies not be killed. So what is the
Yeah,
thing you
subjectively.
ground this opinion in?
I would ground it to transcendentals. I would say that a mind for something to be universal, so something to be good, universally good or bad, for example, babies thrown off cliffs be universally bad, I would need to have a mind that is able to ground that universal concept. So I need a
And
God in order for me to be able to say this is bad.
what God is this? What if this is a God that likes babies getting killed?
Yeah, this is outside
So
the scope of the
your
debate. We're
opinion
talking
is
about whether or
contrary to
not
the God.
God is necessary or not.
Well, yeah, you have to show me that your God grounds these morals that you hold.
No, I don't. I just have to show you that they're a god, well, a transcendental entity that has the mind of a god. I mean, in all but name, maybe it's necessary for good to even exist.
So what you're telling me is that your morals can be aside from what this God deems good or bad?
I can have my preferences, but that's not morality, right? Because good doesn't depend upon me. Unless you think so. If you say, hey, Emmett, you are the one that decides what morality is in all senses. So let me ask you all of the questions of the world when it comes to morality
You're
so that I can follow
entirely
it to the letter, then
entitled.
yes.
You're entirely
Why
entitled
would I
to
be
deem
entitled?
certain actions moral or immoral. You deem abortion to be immoral, even though society thinks it's moral. Am I wrong?
Well, you deem it to be immoral too, right? Because you think throwing babies off cliffs is bad.
I asked you a question. I would like you to answer it.
Okay, could you ask me the question again? My apologies.
I'm saying you consider abortion to be immoral. This is your moral system. It goes against society's moral system. Therefore, you have a different moral compass than other portions of society.
Yeah, but I have a good justification to believe that that morality is even accessible. So it's not about my
Can
preferences;
you
it's about my
demonstrate that
duties.
justification? Can you demonstrate that
Yes, we can go through
justification?
the. Yeah, of course, I can go through the transcendental argument if you want me to.
How does a transcendental argument demonstrate what the moral system is?
Because we need universality in order for me to say this is good or this is bad, so that everything in the instances of throwing babies off cliffs, it's universally bad. Otherwise, it's arbitrary. It depends upon the society I live on, or it depends upon my preferences. And if you're talking about preferences of my society or me, those things that we consider to be good or bad are not actually good or bad. It's just a synonymous for the preferences that we have.
All
So
right.
we don't have access to good or bad.
Just so you gentlemen know, it is now, we're going to move into, like I said, it's a really long time. It's 30 minutes. I'm certain by the pace you guys are already taking, you're not going to have any problems keeping going. But if you both decide that you've found the corners of the argument, you have nothing else to say, let me know and we'll call and move on to closings. Also, don't forget that if you have anything that you need looked up, I am here and ready. So as you were, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But-
you can't demonstrate the universality of these morals or where they come from. And people,
Well, that's your
even though
claim.
this opinion, well, no, this is your claim. You're saying you
No,
can,
that's
yet you
your
haven't
claim is
done
that I
so.
cannot demonstrate it. I can
Okay,
demonstrate it
demonstrate it.
logically. Okay,
No,
so
demonstrate it.
now
Show
we
me
yeah
the
show you.
tablet or whatever it is where these universal morals stem from.
It's a logical demonstration. We're gonna go through an argument. What are you talking about?
If that's what you need, go right ahead.
Okay. So would you agree that we're talking about mind-dependent concepts, right?
Yes.
So we don't have the object of it. I cannot show you the good as an object in reality made out of atoms, for example, right?
Correct.
hmm So if this mind-dependent concept is just dependent upon upon a subjective being, there is no such thing as good or bad. It's just whatever he prefers that is good or evil, right?
Say that one more time.
If there is no universality, if there is nothing in a true form of an action being good or evil, it's just whatever the subject prefers. There is no trueness of good and evil. It's just dependent upon the subject, right?
Well, there's a definition of good. So, yes.
That is the definition of good dependent upon an accordance or an agreement on the preferences of collective.
No, it's a concept. We
Yeah,
don't
but
all
is
think
it
the
a
same things
universal
are good or
concept?
bad.
Is it a
No, it's not a
universal
universal.
concept?
Good is not a universal concept.
The concept of, they said that there's a definition. Is this definition universal?
The definition is understood by everyone that speaks the language or understands the language. Yes.
What about the people that speak a different language? Would they have access to good or to this
They may
definition of
have a
good?
word for good. I assume they have a word for good or at least a concept of good.
And this
There are things
concept
they
is
prefer and things they
universal, or
don't
is it
prefer.
dependent upon the collective?
It depends upon the individual.
So each individual has a different concept of what good is?
Yes, each individual has a different concept of what good and
Okay,
bad are.
perfect. And it depends upon what they prefer, good and bad be?
Yes.
So there's no actual good thing or bad thing. It's just a preference of the people.
To the individual, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if that is the case, then there is no actually good or bad. It's just, a preference thing. I prefer this
See,
thing because I think that I like it. And they don't prefer it because they think that they don't like it. They don't have access to good or evil. It's just that in your case, you think of it as a word game. We say good or evil because it's a word that we think can be fitting to thing. But when you're talking about universal concepts of what good and evil actually is in the worldview that I have, that means that there is a justification for me to say the actions that you're taking are against a nature, are against what good is, and there's an objective fact of good. That's the difference between you and me. I don't want to talk past each other.
I'm wondering, do you think anchovies are good?
They're irrelevant.
They're irrelevant. So you don't have an opinion
Yeah,
on
eating would be
things that you eat.
the thing is sustenance for the body would be good in some cases, you know, but it's not a we're not talking about the terminology of what actually good or evil is. We're talking about whether or not eating,
So
I guess.
in all the objective nature and your access to that objective nature, you can't tell me what you think is good or bad.
No, I can tell you I can tell you what is good or bad, but I can tell you what is actually
Why?
good or bad
Why can you tell me what's good or
because I
bad?
have justification.
From what?
I have good reason to believe
Give me
that
your
something is
reason.
good
What
or
is
bad.
it? What is it?
It's God. God is the reason.
What God? Explain, demonstrate the
Oh
God.
my God. I don't need to tell you which God because this is out of the scope of the
You
debate. I just
kind of
have to
do.
tell you that
You
is God
kind of
because
do.
you need to have a nature of universality for good to be a thing.
Okay, then let's say it's the demiurge, and the demiurge
Hmm.
wants all babies dead. That's the God.
Yeah. So we would need to go with what is just justification to believe in the demiurge, right? What is the demiurge?
I have no reason to believe in this. You're the one who's saying that this is
Perfect. Then you
grounded
have
in
no
a God.
justification, so I don't need to contend with you
The
because the
demiurge
justification is a good
can
reason to
give you
believe,
there's
right?
no need to have justification for axioms.
In this case, we do because we're talking about why do you believe what you believe. So the justification of why do you believe what you believe is the necessary precondition. I believe what I believe because I believe in the transcendental argument. So they are universal concepts that are rooted in a mind that is transcendental because of the nature of these concepts. They need a specific kind of mind because they have a specific kind of attributes and they have to share them. So this mind that is transcendental needs to exist for these concepts to exist. Otherwise, I don't have access to said concepts. I just, in reality, all I have is subjectivism, and there is no such thing as something outside of my mind that I can appeal to anything, right?
So you're using a circular argument and you can't demonstrate the
It's not a
subject of the
circular
argument.
argument. The
It's
argument goes like
definitively a
this: there
circular
are
argument.
mind-dependent concepts. Okay, concepts are mind-dependent. Concepts that are mind-dependent. There are some concepts, that are mind-dependent that are not dependent upon my mind. An example of it is 2 + 2 = 4. If these concepts are transcendental and not dependent upon my mind, then a transcendental mind has to be necessary for these concepts to exist. There's no circularity in it.
So you're telling me that you're grounding this concept in
Mhm.
something that you can't demonstrate.
The concept has specific attributes, right?
So can you demonstrate its attributes?
Yes, 2 + 2 = 4. Is that universally true?
Yes.
Okay. Is it true in your mind?
Yes.
Does it have to be true in other minds that are not yours?
No.
Wait, 2 + 2 doesn't have to be true in other minds that is not yours?
People's minds can be in conflict. I can't speak for other people's minds. I'm talking about what I'm saying.
Okay, so perfect. So 2 + 2 = 5 in my mind is perfectly reasonable and right because it's my mind.
So demonstrate that this has to come from a mind.
Because you cannot have it's not objective. What is the object of 2?
It's a
It's mind
definition.
dependent.
No, it's the way we classify objects. So
No, we
it
don't
is an
classify
objective
objects like
fact.
that. There is no object of 2. Unless you can show. Listen, I will concede my whole argument if you can show me the object that is the concept of two.
No, that's not how that works. It's an objective fact. It's something that is not mind dependent, that one object and another object equals two objects. This is a concept that we
No, that we're
use.
talking about the objects now, but the objects is a different concept at two. So I
Yes, the
want a
object,
concept. I want you to show me the object because we're talking about objective. So something material, okay, that is the concept of two. For example, I have a concept of sun, right? Okay, if I point to the sun, that is the object of the sun. Now I want you to do the same thing with two.
the sun is an objective fact. The classification of sun is not objective. It's subjective.
The concept, okay, the pointer,
So the numbers we're
concept
using
pointer
are
to the
subjective.
sun, the object. Okay, I have a two, the concept. Point me to the object that is two.
I'm saying the way we classify the numbers is subjective. The
Perfect,
concept
then it's
itself
not
is
objective, so it's
objective.
mind dependent. It's
No,
dependent
math
upon the
is
mind of the subject.
what
Okay,
you use
so
as a
if 2 plus
classification system. So you're saying
I
2 isn't the
agree.
same in Roman numerals?
I agree. It is the same because we're talking about objects. You're trying to do word concept fallacy, which is not necessary. The concept of two is two here, and it was a two in the Romans. When you're talking about 2 plus 2 equals 4, if you say, in my mind, it's true, but in your mind, it doesn't have to be true, then in my mind, I say 2 plus 2 equals 5 is perfectly reasonable and justified for me to say it, right? In your worldview.
So you have to understand, this is how we define objective reality. It itself is not objective, it is subjective, and how we chose to define it.
Yeah, so if it's only subjective, like I said, then I can say exactly what I said, and I will be justified on my subjective mind. 2 plus 2 equals 5 is justified in
No,
my
you're
subjective
you're
mind because
presupposing
I
that it
say
is.
it, right? No, I'm asking you.
That's the system that we use, and that's the system you learned. You didn't come into
2
this
plus
world
2
knowing
equals
2 plus 2.
It doesn't matter. 2 plus 2 equals 5 in my subjective mind, and it's justified because it's according to my mind.
Great. And
I'm
then if 2
correct
plus
in
2 is
my mind that
5,
2 plus 2
you
equals
can
5.
demonstrate it. Then you can demonstrate it, correct?
No, I don't have to. Why would I have to do it? It's
Because
justified on my mind.
if you're using that as a classification system, it's not going to work out for
Yeah.
you if you can't demonstrate it.
You don't have to demonstrate good. What is the demonstration of good?
The demonstration of good is subjective, and some people are going to think what one thing
Yeah.
is good, and others will think it's bad.
2 plus 2 is
Then you have
subjective. 5 is okay with me because I say so.
then congratulations.
But they're imperfect. You see how you don't have an access to what good is? You don't have an access to mathematics either. You just conceded to me that 2 plus 2 is 5. Sorry. You just conceded to me that 2 plus 2 equals 5 is completely justified in my worldview simply because it's subjective to me. So whatever I say that is good, even if you don't like it, it would be good because I say
When
so.
did I
And the same thing would happen with evil. Anything
You
I say
said
about
you
evil would
think
be
2 plus
evil
2 is
because
5.
I say so.
You said 2 plus 2 is 5. I just said, okay,
I
if that's what you
did.
want to do. I'm saying demonstrate how
Exactly.
you got to that. I'm saying demonstrate how you got to that point.
Through my subjective experience.
Then congratulations, your subjective
Then
experience is flawed.
congratulations to you. You don't have access to good or evil. It's just whatever you prefer. So you need a God. You need a standard. You need something outside of you to say, hey, this is good. This is the good. Otherwise, it's just, it's 5. It's 11. It's 5,981. And it will be okay.
So wait a minute. So you're saying there's a mind that decides these things and they're concrete and universal, correct?
Yes.
So that mind decided it, correct?
That mind is the justification for it.
So
right?
that would be inherently subjective, would it not?
It would be subjected to his mind. Yes.
Right. So that makes it subjective.
It would be objective to us
No, it
because we
wouldn't.
are not that mind, right?
But you're saying we have access to the subjectivity of that mind, which you have yet to demonstrate, but just going with your hypothetical,
Yeah.
we have
Well,
access to
listen, I
what comes
we
from that
went
subjective mind.
we went directly to mathematics. I point out there are these concepts that are universal. We talk about them, and you went directly to absurdism because you had to concede that your worldview is absurd
I
because you
didn't concede
think that two
anything.
plus two equals
I don't
five.
know. I
No,
don't know
you
how you
did
got
because you
there.
said that it's fine. It's
No,
true.
I
If
said it's
I
fine if
believe that
that's
it's
what
two
you
plus
want
two
to
equals
think.
fine, exactly. But you don't have any reason to tell me that I'm wrong.
No, I can just call you a moron and move on.
Perfect. I can just call you a moron and move on. There's
Right.
nothing in that
And
case.
so,
There's nothing telling us if it's
wait,
right or
wait, wait,
wrong. There's no
wait, wait, wait.
universality.
No, what's the utility there?
It doesn't. Why are we adding utility?
Because if it doesn't have any utility, what's the point in it?
There are a lot of things that are not that we don't have utils that you would consider to be necessary.
You're telling me what I consider to be necessary and what's not necessary? Hold
Yes,
on.
there's a lot of different things that that are not
You have to
util
establish that
based that we
first.
consider to be necessary
No,
in
no, no. You have to
society
establish
even.
that first. So what I'm saying is, if a bunch of people think 2 + 2 is 5, then
Mhm.
the utility that comes forward is they're going to get math wrong. They're not going to be able to function in society properly, and society is going to suffer from them being incorrect in that instance.
Is that bad?
I would say it's bad. It's bad for human flourishing.
I would say it's good. So what? Right?
So can you elaborate on why it's good?
I like it. It's my subjective experience of good, since I like that to be the good. And you have to agree with me that it's just subjective and there is no such thing as a universality of it. Then, in accordance to me, it will be good.
Do you understand the definition of good? Just wondering.
Go on. Tell me the definition of good, let's say.
So, something that possesses desirable qualities, or is morally excellent, or is beneficial, pleasant, or satisfactory.
Morally excellent. So that presupposes that there's morality?
Morality exists, yes. There's no
Yeah. Well, I would
presupposition.
say that moral, yeah, exactly, right? And morality is what tells you what good or bad is. So at the end of the day, I would say that the good is that which is in accordance to the nature of this being that has a transcendental mind, because he has
So,
the transcendental. Okay, he has the actual authority. That will not be a fallacy of authority. He has the actual authority to tell you what is good or bad, and
you're
the way that he
presupposing that,
tells
and
you is
if
through his
that,
being.
if what you're saying is the
Yeah, but
case,
you
you'd be able to
presuppose
demonstrate it.
utility,
I'm not
right?
presupposing utility. Utility is the survival of a species or a society.
Okay, let's say that there
That's
is
demonstrable.
yeah, let's say that there's the possibility that a baby being born right now is gonna be the next H-man. Would it be a utility-based action to go on and delete all the babies so that H-man 2.0, that's gonna be worse than H-man 2.1, uh, is deleted before he is able to rise to power?
Mhm. What's
Would
your
that be a
question?
good thing?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Unless you consider that the H-man was inherently evil from birth.
No, I don't consider him to be inherently able for birth.
Well, it's a very weird hypothetical. I'm just writing with it for you, but I don't think people come into this world having
Mhm.
any moral compass or understanding of the world around them, and it's something they have to learn, and it's an emergent quality that they gain or don't gain morals.
Wait, gain? Can you gain morals? Can you be
Yes,
how do you
morals are
gain morals?
learned. Morals are
Well,
learned
from who?
through experiences, through teaching, through being in society, through seeing outcomes.
To
You
the
have to have
collective?
experiences. Yes.
So the South in the 1800s, when they were doing things that you probably don't like, they were perfectly fine because their morality was that they could do it.
They considered it moral. A lot of people in society didn't consider it moral. And eventually, the people that
Yeah.
didn't consider it moral outweighed the people that considered it moral.
So all you care about is force, right?
I'm not saying this is about force. This is about opinion. I think
Well,
without
it's not about
force, we could have
force
still gotten to
because
that same outcome.
the only reason why why they are not doing it right now is because people with force stop them. So all that is moral in reality is those who have power and can put up their preference upon society. Those will be the moral people because whatever they say
No, I
is the
disagree with
moral.
you.
Is the moral.
You'd have to
Why?
demonstrate that. You'd have to demonstrate that all moral
Yeah, no.
actions are imposed by force.
That is your argument. Your argument is
No, that's not my
we
argument.
have
You're saying it's
subjective
my argument.
morals that are set up by society through the collective, and whatever the collective decides that is the moral thing is the moral thing.
May I ask you a question? If
Sure.
you're doing something that society deems immoral, would you have to be
Hmm.
forced to stop it?
Yes. You have two ways of forcing
Wow.
people, right? First one is coercion. The second one is through restraint.
It
So you
sincerely
either are
sounds like
coerced into it by
wherever
saying
you it
you're
sincerely
either
sounds like whatever
sorry.
you derive your morals from is morally abhorrent.
You can say that, but I mean that's your preference. So when you
It is.
yeah, there's two ways that morality deals with this, that society deals with this, right? One is coercion. So if you do this, you're gonna suffer X consequence, and the second one is you did this, thus X consequence is gonna happen to you. But
That's a false
but there's
dichotomy.
nothing
That's
actually.
a
There's
false
not actually
dichotomy.
anything.
Stop. That's a
That's what
false dichotomy.
happens. Isn't that what
Truth is,
society does?
good
Isn't that
things happen. No, no,
what
no.
the system
Stop, stop,
does?
stop. Stop, dude. You're forcing a false dichotomy. You can do a
Huh?
thing and there can be bad outcomes that come from it from society. Someone may harm you, you may go to jail. Or
Mhm.
you may do a thing and you get a good outcome. And that reinforces what your moral compass is.
No, not when it comes to society. When it comes to society, is you know that if you're going to delete somebody, I'm trying to be careful with TOS or right. That's why I'm talking this way, okay? But yeah, if you want to delete somebody, you know that there is the action that the police is gonna try to go to you, to your house, take you, and put you in jail. So the coercion is don't do the deletion, or else if you do it, you're gonna go to jail.
And what you're telling me is
And the
nobody's
use
ever
of
been
force of the
convinced
society is
without
to put you in
force.
jail.
What you're telling me is without force, nobody has ever been convinced not to commit violence. Do you believe this to be true?
To coercion, right?
Convinced
Or
by one
to
means or another.
appealing. The only other way I see people being convinced to not commit force, for example, is through the appeal of something greater than they and have access to moral standards that are outside of their own single-handedly mind. So they go through
So
God. They appeal to these ideas beyond themselves.
if I come up to you and ask you,
Hmm.
hey, if you don't steal that candy bar, I'll give you $100. Is that force?
It's coercion, right?
Is that force?
No, I said there are different ways. That would be
I'm
coercion.
asking you if it's force. You can say yes or no.
I said no. No, it
Okay.
would be
So there
coercion.
are
No,
other
comma. It
means.
would be coercion.
So, but is it force?
No, it would be coercion.
Okay. So if it's not force, then apparently there are ways to get people to act morally in society without force.
Yeah, through
And it doesn't seem to
it's usually through the use of force, through coercion, or to appeals of higher good, or to something greater than them, or in some cases you can also say that there is like some kind of gift at the end.
I
You're
can
bribing
even
them.
I can even, excuse me, concede that it could be sufficient that somebody would lean toward a higher power, but it's not necessary.
It is necessary because otherwise you have preferences. You don't have access to anything that is good.
So what you're telling me is there's some force that is necessarily
No, what I'm
reinforcing moral
saying
actions.
No, no, no. What I'm saying is, in societally speaking, as society, the only way they have to say what moral is, they do it through force. So what they do is they say, "Hey, we agreed on this. If you do X thing that we consider to be bad, we're gonna use force against you. That's the way that they do it through the societal standard. That's the way that
Okay.
you will come to the capacity of it. That's the only way you have. Okay, so all you
o-
care if there is such a thing as a God, something that is telling you or grounding the basics of what good or bad actually is. It's just preference, right? So you have a preference, and then you have a bunch of people who have different preference, and as an agent, what you want is to have as much people that agree with you, so that you can impose whatever preference of morality you have. But there's not actually something good or bad. It's just a thing that is preferred.
Yes, it is preferred that society function. It is preferred that we have people being able to
Yeah.
actualize themselves. It is preferred that people don't
Yeah,
steal
but
or
we don't.
kill for obvious
Yeah, but that
reasons.
is not the case. That is not the case right now. For example, as I mentioned, can I say abortion, horseradish?
Yes, this would be
Absolutely.
like I think the third time you've said it.
Okay. Just I just want to be sure because I don't know
Yeah.
Twitch. So yeah, if you go yeah, it's right now. For example, you talk about you want kids to be actualizing. We're deleting them in the womb. Don't care.
Okay, so may I ask what happens if you don't do the moral actions that this objective hypothetical being wants?
Well, you will be acting. You will be doing evil, right? You will be acting in
Then what happens?
disagreement with what good is.
Then what happens?
Well, what we normally see is, or if you go to my idea, would be you would suffer through your own actions because you have free will. So you will suffer the consequences of not acting in accordance to his will.
That sounds pretty subjective, and that shows that people can act outside of their interests and go against their morals or the morals of society and suffer for it. But that doesn't show that this objective thing wants or doesn't want anything.
No, I think it would be very objective, right? To you, instead of you doing what you prefer instead of doing what is good, and you suffer the consequences of your stupid preferences because what you did is obviously wrong. Well, maybe not obviously, but it's wrong.
I mean, it's
So
supposed to be obvious if it's objective.
you would be having that you would be having the problems of acting that it's not in accordance to what is good.
So let's take an objective thing. So, like you've used the example of
Mhm.
the sun. The sun is an objective fact, right? The sun exists.
Yes.
Okay. So, in regards to this being, how do we know what it deems objectively moral?
In regards to that object, I would say that there's nothing moral about it. It's just an
I'm
object.
asking you what the necessary being, how do we know what it objectively states is moral?
Oh, you're asking about God? Well, I would say,
I'm asking
and I
about the
would.
necessary thing. If you say it's a
Yeah,
god,
you're talking about God. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the Son. Yeah, if you're talking
the
about
sun doesn't
about
want anything.
God, what?
The sun doesn't want anything.
No, the sun is just an object. It has no morality on it. There's no morality attached to an object. So when it comes to God, because it doesn't have a mind. Anyway, when it comes to God, it would be whatever he wants, right? The thing that is good is him because he is the being. And you, as a lesser being, don't actually have any right to tell him what good or bad is, in a sense. It would
But
be
how do we
absolutely
know
directed to
what
him.
it thinks is
Oh, through his
moral?
revelation. Yeah, through his revelation. He loved you so much that he sent your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to be revealed upon you so that you can
Oh,
have
well,
access
okay,
to
so we're
him
talking Christian
and
God.
partake on
Okay,
his
so Christian
energies.
God likes dead babies. So it's moral to kill babies, therefore abortion is good. Thank you. This ends my TED talk.
Wait, what? Where you get that from?
The book. You're saying the morals come
What
from the
book?
book. The book kills a bunch of babies.
Yeah.
Matter of
Did
fact,
you read it?
by the second
Did you
by
read?
the second chapter of the
Yes.
book,
Did
he
you read
wipes out
it?
all the babies except for one family.
True. Did you read it?
Yes, I've read it all the way
Through
through,
your,
cover to
it was
cover.
your own interpretation. It was your interpretation.
You're telling me there wasn't a flood in that
It
book?
was your interpretation.
No, it's the consensus interpretation from anybody that can read, "Hey, there
Consensus.
was a global flood."
Okay. Yeah. So we believe in the consensus of the interpretation.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for the sake of this argument, do you believe there was a flood?
Mhm. It's irrelevant what I believe. I'm asking you a question. Is it your interpretation?
You're telling me the Christian Bible is the source of this morality. So the Bible and what it says,
The revelation is the source of the morality. And even in the revelation, you would not have, if you follow the revelation of it, you don't have, once again, any you don't have any basis to say this is bad except your preferences.
so why
So
bother reading it?
when you say, oh my god, they killed everybody, okay, it means absolutely nothing, because you interpreting it as good or bad has nothing to do with the fact that it was good, simply because he
Bro,
wanted to, because he has the
I've
authority.
seen,
And it doesn't
I've
matter
not
if you
seen,
don't like it.
I
It
haven't
doesn't
seen
matter if
anybody
you don't
run from
like
their
it.
source material so hard in my entire life.
I don't have to run for anything. The debate is whether or
You were
not
literally
you
running
need
from it.
God. The
Was
debate is
there,
whether or not you need
so
God, and you keep trying to make it about my religion or
was
my
it
beliefs
ever
when it's about the
revealed to
belief
you?
system in and of itself. So the
It's
fact that,
about,
listen, you've been running away from the fact that you don't have
I've
access to
not
good
run
or
from
evil,
anything.
and you have this kind of moral indignation. Oh my God, the babies! When your ideas of liberalism and subjectivism has just killed 60 million babies in about
Through
60
circular
years,
logic,
and
you're claiming you
it's
have
getting
access to
higher.
something you can't demonstrate. Unless you can demonstrate it to me,
I
why should I
demonstrated
believe you have
logically.
access to anything? You
Yeah,
never
I
did.
demonstrated
That never
logically.
happened. That never
I
happened.
demonstrated logically. You said that it was a circular argument. It wasn't. You
And
have
I'm
any
saying when
other
we got to the
problems with
end
the
of your
argument in and of
argument, there
itself?
was no God there. Sorry.
There was a God there. The God is the mind that is necessary in the argument. Do you have an actual problem with the argument itself?
You can't even tell me what God it is.
I don't need to.
Then
All
why
right.
am I supposed to
For
know
the
it's objective?
Listen, for this argument, I don't need to go on and tell you and give you all of the
I'm
revelation.
glad you
I just
think
need to
that. You're
get to the
just wrong.
listen. All I need is to go to the precondition that God is necessary for there to be a standard of good, or else it's just preference based. That's
Cool
all I
story,
need.
bro. Cool story, bro.
All
Cool
right.
story.
All
I
right. All
mean,
right.
cool
All right.
story, bro.
All right, let me jump in. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I let this go, y'all could just keep doing this shit for another 30 minutes. So instead, because I do at least have some questions coming in, and I got a whole fucking page of them for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 5 minutes on the clock for you guys. I'm going to get y'all's closings in. Then we'll get over to the Q&A. So, Lethe, after all of that, I hope you still got 5 minutes left in you, sir.
I should.
Your opportunity to close it down. Start it up when you're ready.
Okay. Throughout this debate, my opponent has presupposed that he has access to something that can only be understood through revelation to individuals from a mind that is outside of humanity, which is necessarily subjective and obviously circular. So if he can't demonstrate it and there's no material witnessing of what this thing deems moral or immoral, it becomes subjective as to which God you deem these morals come from, if this is the case that you're taking this as fact. Or you can go with the idea that morality is a emergent quality of consciousness, and using the experiences we have as human beings and the empathy and everything that we have accumulated over time, we have shifted that morality. Otherwise, if that morality was objective and universal, we would all have the same morality for time immemorial, because there would be something on record showing what the morality is and what the morality isn't. And this individual ran as hard as humanly possible from trying to demonstrate this thing, laying out what those morals are. There was absolutely no demonstration of any of this. So at the end of the day, it's just his preference as well. And I will end at that.
All right. And 5 minutes is now going to go on the clock for you, Emmett. Last word's yours, sir. Start it up when you're ready.
I find it interesting that whenever I see this kind of debates, most of the time what they want to do is just complain about Christianity. When in reality, we're talking about philosophy. This is not a debate or what do you believe, Emmett? Is it true what you believe, Emmett? Because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, my belief, if it's just subjective, it's justified in my subjective experience. I am the one that says, I believe what I believe, baby, and I'm right because it's my belief. At the end of the day, What we were talking about is whether or not it's necessary when you have an objective reality to say this is good or evil. Okay, what is exactly that we need to even say that? It's either you need the force of the state because all you care is about force, and whatever you prefer is going to be the good thing. If that is the case, then all of the people in the 1700s in southern United States were doing the right thing because they had the power and they did whatever they wanted. And if it comes to my subjective experience, then I can just say it's me. I believe it. It's me. I know it's right because I believe it. But if we want to say there is such thing as good or bad, and it's not just based on some kind of preference, if we actually look at, hey, killing, deleting babies is wrong, then that would be the wrong thing. That is wrong. Okay? Otherwise, it's just preference. It's my preference. It was like here trying to spurg about Christianity. Like, oh my God, how can you believe Christianity? He deleted everybody. It's like, it doesn't matter. When it comes to your case, if it's just the subjective mind of God, even in your own volition, in his subjective mind, he can do whatever he wants because he is justified on him being a subjective mind. Now, I find it rich that he says, well, you're trying to run away from it. That's outside the scope of the debate. That's what the debate was. It's necessary for God to exist, not for Emmett's God or Emmett belief system, even though I believe my belief system is correct outside of me even. That has nothing to do with this debate. I will say that if I want things to be as objective as possible, which I think is necessary in a sense, I would need to have a justification for my belief system. He would go on and say, "Oh my God, he just believes in these, in these what they call it, like God fairy up in the sky, or whatever it is that they think that it is, right?" But they believe in their own fairy tale. Oh, it's me. I am the I am the one that will tell you what is good or right because it's my subjective experience. Well, I should believe you. Is there any good reason, any kind of justification for me to believe you or anybody else that is a subjectivist? Right? If there isn't, it's just collective power, then that means that, baby, all the Christians need to get together. We believe what we believe because we prefer it, and we're going to impose whatever morality is that we want because we got the force. At the end of the day, that would be the justification for any of my actions if I take your worldview, right? There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing in your worldview. In fact, it's completely justified. So it is necessary outside of my preference. Yes, it's necessary outside of my preference to have a universal mind that would ground and have a standard for what good or evil is. If you say it isn't, then we go into absurdism. And if you say it isn't, then everything I do and anything I do is finally justified on me and my preferences. And once again, thank you very much, Horseraj. And thank you so much, Leith, for the debate.
Absolutely my pleasure, sir. All right. Great job from both of y'all. I'm not exactly sure. This is our first time doing the showcase debate, so I'm still a little on the fence on some parts of how this is going to work. As I said, we do have a question so far coming in from the chat. Hopefully the chat's going to throw a couple more questions if you guys have anything to either debater that you think didn't get addressed. I don't know if I should put the vote out first or if I should start asking questions, because I don't want to sway the audience, but I also feel like the audience should get to ask their questions and before they make their decisions. So with that said, I think that we're going to leave the voting open for the entirety of the Q&A, or at least for as long of the Q&A as we can tolerate. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put that into the chat for you as well, Emmett. I believe you are streaming as well, yes?
I am, yes.
All right, very cool. Then I will give you the link as well so your side can say who they think did it. Sorry, I should have had this ready, but I was so frantically fucking writing that I have so many notes, so many thoughts on this conversation. Control
Thank
copy.
you.
There we go. Yeah,
I
no,
hope it
this
was interesting.
Oh, it was. I've heard the transcendental argument for God. Literally did a stream with Lethe 2 nights ago talking about this, and this is the first time I've ever actually listened to it laid out like this. So that said, it was very entertaining. And for what it's worth, I also should tell you that I have self-challenged to defend the affirmative on this argument against ANCOM SciComm. So I was looking forward to hearing argument get laid out.
I will send you a if you want to. I have it in premise form if you want to look at it so that you can take a look at the argument
for sure
itself.
Yeah, no, I would love to see your notes. Absolutely. Oh, why did my shit just freeze? There we go. All right, here you go in there for you. Looks like we got another question come in. All right, close that.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm going to drop it over here into mine and Lethe's. Everybody on our streams should be able to see that. Click that. Y'all know what it's for. You know what to do. The judging is entirely in the audience's hands tonight. I'm just here to click the buttons and talk in between. This is entirely up to y'all as to who won. So let's look at those questions. First one, and I'm actually going to expound on this a little bit. I am going to interject my own question just because you addressed this question. The question is, what God is being used to justify Emmett's morals? Now, you did address the fact that you didn't understand why your God was relevant. I would say, because this is from my notes, different gods throughout history and throughout different cultures have had different morals, correct? Is that safe to say?
That's what I'm arguing.
No, hold on, Leafy. No, it's okay. The question's for Emmett. So go ahead.
Yeah. The idea of the debate would be, even if that was the case, right, the appeal to a God will be the justification of having a good reason to believe that is the good. If you just think that the justification comes from you, then let's say that I grant that there is like billions of gods, which is not, I will not say is the case, but let's say that I say it, the justification of what good is will come from said gods. So even if that was the case in the debate, a God is still necessary for me to say, hey, this is the standard of good and evil.
Okay. So the question, the way that I was going to frame it for the person, I assumed that the different gods have different morals, shows you where I'm going. Do you believe that the Incan god was moral since it taught them to kill and sacrifice their own people to satiate the sun that you mentioned?
You mean the Incan?
Yes, sir. The Incans.
Peru?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. No, I would say that I would appeal to Christianity, right? I will say, hey, this is the true reality of what is good in accordance to Revelation because of a series of things. It will not only be.
Cheers.
I would go through other kinds of justifications, but it's a different. This is what I'm saying. It's a different debate. I would have to go into.
But I was just
religion.
I was getting you to where why they were asking that question. That was the only purpose there.
No, yeah. I understand. I understand it. I'm saying that the difference in the debate is what kind of justification do you have to believe that your religion is correct, and that debate is different from you need a god for you to have access to what is
absolutely good. So the next question, why is 2 + 2 = 5? Are we talking about the language of math, or are you suggesting that a quantity of 2 plus a quantity of 2 equals 5 quantity? So I'm going to try and summarize this one a little bit as well, because this was also in my notes. So whenever you're talking about the idea of 2 + 2 being 5, I'm sure you understand that this many things as a concept existed before we had the words to label what this many things is. Right? So a concept can exist before we conceive of it, right? Again, this many things was always this many things, and this many things plus this many things makes this many things, right? Like, let's do fingers, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. But we're talking about concepts, right? So these are mind-dependent.
Concepts versus labels or terms.
They depend upon the mind. And the second part is, do they depend upon are they dependent only upon your mind?
And I think that the answer there is, if I'm not wrong, that they are what they were before we named it. Our naming of it or our labeling of it was what made it our concept, but the concept existed before we labeled it as well.
Correct. I agree with you, but that when you're talking about the universal concept at that point, right?
Sure.
The concept is true, whether it's on your mind or in other person's mind.
It was there before
And
I
if
thought
say
of it.
2
That's
plus 2
right.
equals
Yep.
5, yeah. If it's if I say 2 plus 2 equals 5, it's true. Sorry, if I say 2 plus 2 equals 5 is wrong. It's not correct because it's not dependent upon my mind. It's dependent upon something that is transcendental. It's true whether or not I believe it to be true.
Okay.
Right?
I see what you're saying. Sure.
So, so when you're talking about the transcendental argument, I would say that is the point. The point is you have concepts that are mind dependent, so they're dependent upon minds. You have concepts that are mind dependent, that are not dependent upon your mind. So they're true whether or not your mind even exists. They are the existence. These concepts have specific attributes. For example, they're universal. They're always true, so they always existed. They have always existed. They need a mind that have the same kind of attributes. They need a mind that is always existence, that is transcendental, that is true, that is that it's not dependent upon you in a sense. So that's the point of the transcendental. You go through those kind of ideas, and then you come to the conclusion that a mind is dependent. That a mind is necessary for them to exist. Sorry, not dependent.
Yep.
Necessary.
But if different gods have different morals, then morals are still subjective. Right?
That would say, again, it would mean that there are different gods, right? I would say that there cannot be different gods because there are different reasons why.
Right, but it comes down to your personal
justification
belief.
of my God.
Yeah.
If it comes to the justification of, there's only one God, why we got there. But if we're talking about is it necessary, then I don't need to go there in these 30 minutes of the debate. That's what.
Sure. Yep. No, I understand. Again, just trying to parse out their question. All right, so we got.
And I know people are going to be like, well, that's very bad faith, but it's
no.
Not
you're honest about it. You acknowledge that it's your belief. So you acknowledge that it's your belief.
It's not contingent upon the argument in and of itself.
Sure,
that's what it means.
But your belief is contingent on the argument if you have to believe that there is only one God. That is part of your belief on God, right?
That's what I mean. What I mean, if it's only in the argument that I'm proposing is, if it is the case that is only subjective.
Sure, we have to start with that word if,
my
right?
mind. Yeah. If it's dependent upon my mind.
Correct.
And the only way I can get to power is through collective force, then there is not a thing that is good. It's just preference on force. Right?
Yes.
And my idea is, well, if that is the case and good is not existent, we need something in which we're going to grant that is greater than us. And let's say that is billions of gods, fine. But even that would be greater than us, that is setting the standard of what good is.
Feels
that
like
is the
we
argument.
should
it's
need.
Not about, it's
we
not,
should need would be more, right?
Yeah, we need. We need, or it's just preference.
Yeah, right. Or it's just preference. So why can it not just be preference?
No, it can, but if it's preference, if it's just preference, there is no such thing as good as evil. It's just what I think is good.
Yep.
And I can change it whenever I want.
Yes.
And it can be as arbitrary as I want.
True.
And it can be whatever I want.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And people can choose not to live next to you if your standards or your beliefs don't comport with theirs, right? So again, the Incans. Yeah, the Incans, you probably wouldn't have wanted to live with them, right?
No, I would want to live with them.
Yeah.
To change their minds on heart and get them to...
Unless you're the one whose stone gets picked. All right, so we got more questions coming from chat. Hang on. All right, so... So, Q for AF, if subjective morality is still a form of morality, why is God necessary to be moral? If even a subjective morality is still a morality, right?
because I don't think I apologize to Leith. I know that I'm taking like over the
No, he's not. Nobody.
personal-
Everybody seems to have
Carry
questions
on.
for you, my friend. It's easy. This isn't his
yeah,
choice.
because I don't think that is I don't think subjective morality is an actual framework for morality. It's just a preference of what I like.
Right, but definitionally, it would still be morale. So I have a question. I'm going to interject here because this was this one I am going to get from both of y'all. So real quick, let me set you up. What is the difference? Because, and this is a peeve of mine and has been for a long time. What is the difference between morals and ethics? I'll let you parse that out, Emmett.
Well, I would say that the way I understand it is the ethics is the framework in which the morals exist.
So
So the
morals.
ethical framework tells you what you ought to do, and the morals is the way that you have to apply
Close.
the ethics. So your
Morals are
actions-
individual, ethics are of a group. So ethics are a group's morals.
Yeah.
So in other words, the whether it's a group of friends at work, a country, a nation, or a church, or ethics are the group morality, and then morals are the individual's ideas of right and wrong. So my question to you then is, why does good and evil need to be subjective?
To me,
Yes. Why does it need to be subjective?
I don't say that it has to be. I said the opposite, right? I
Okay,
say
so
it
you
has to
actually
be
prefer
objective for it to exist.
wait. I'm sorry. I said subjective. I mean, they are subjective. Why does good and evil need to be objective? I apologize. I misspoke. I read my shit backwards.
Because there is no this is the problem. The ethics would not exist if morality is just
Morals
just
are the
tied to the
individual, ethics are
subject
the
or the-
group, remember.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead. Okay.
If the morals is just subject to the individual, the ethics cannot exist.
The
because
ethics are the
ethics needs to be
group's morals.
Yeah, but there's no group's morals. What is the group's morals?
The group's morals
Each
are
individual
basically,
have
like
their
you
own-
said, yes. Each group is going to have their own independently voted upon
Exactly.
in Incan culture.
Not voted. No, wait, not voted.
Sure,
Each
socially,
individual
we
have their own- no, not
people are
socially. Wait a second,
people are socially ostracized, right? If you act outside of the morality of that culture.
That's what I said. That point is force. But I'm not talking about that. Each individual has his own preferences.
Yes.
So each morals will be dependent upon their preference. So they don't have access to the ethics. There is not a framework that they can reference to say what they ought or not ought to. It's just they either are getting coerced into not doing things because society will come with a club and hit you with the club, or they or I don't know, or they're the ones with the club and will do whatever they want.
Or somebody else explains to that person why they shouldn't behave that way. I don't know about you, but have you changed how you behave towards people over the course of your life? Have you seen the effects or the outcomes of your treatment of people and said, "Wow, I don't want to be like that"?
Yes.
So your morals changed. Your morals changed through experience.
The way that I look at the framework is I have more or less access to the framework in a sense. But if I was just a subjectivist, let's say that I decide to become a member of a cartel, and instead of my behavior becoming more towards what I consider to be virtue, but more considered to what is own virtues, but I'm getting all the power and I end up like having millions of dollars and the house and
Sure.
all of them people, all of them women of the night.
Sure.
At the end of the day, he would be justified just because of force in his actions, and I would not be justified in saying that he's wrong because I have less force than him.
Oh no! Both can be justified. So let me ask you one more quick question because we got two more questions coming in for chat.
Okay, the justification is a good reason to believe, right? He would have justification to believe that he's right in his actions, even if objectively there will be wrong, because he has the power. That's the critique I have.
Do you believe that people set out to be evil or believe themselves to be evil? Do you think anybody do you think anybody sets out to be evil or sees their own actions as being evil?
Yeah, their actions to be evil, yes. Set out to be evil is a different concept. I think you have the capacity, the moral capacity to your actions to act evil. I think the problem that having is the being, because in my way that I look at the world, it's like men men can become evil, right? They in accordance to their actions, but it's not like a transcend. It's not an ontology claim. They're not evil because they're evil. They're evil because they've moved away from God in a sense.
All right.
It's about their actions, not about who they are.
All right. So I got two more questions from chat, but I do want to hear Lethe. How do you believe ethics are formed? You kind of talked about it, I think, and I don't mean to like set you up. I kind of already said the answer, I think, but in your opinion, are morals based on ethics or are ethics based on morals? Chicken and egg. Does the group create the ethic or does the ethic affect the group? You see my question? Okay. Like are we influenced by our group or which one wins?
The ethic can affect the group and sway the morals of the individuals, but the individual's morals collectively usually will form the ethic. Unless there's some outside force or motivating force to coerce it otherwise.
Got it. All right, so two more questions for you, sir. If God gave a revelation that the quantity of 2 and the quantity of 2 equals the quantity of 5, what would be right? Objective reality or God's subjective reality?
Is that for me?
Yes. Well, I'm asking Emmett. I think it's directed towards the AF. Yeah, it's towards the AF. If God sent a revelation out that 2 plus 2 quantity plus 2 quantity was 5 quantity, then would that then be right?
Well, it would be illogical, right? So this is what I'm talking about, the characteristics of God as a being. He has a specific characteristics of him. So he's described as the logos, which means he needs to have he is logical. So he is in fact, he is the standard of what we consider things to be logical in a sense. So that would make no sense because it would be that question itself would go against who God is, right? Now, if we're talking just about whether or not he has the he has the power, the justification to come to anybody and be like 2 plus 2 equals 5 or else, I would say that he has all of the justification and power to do that. But that if we're taking from the actual idea in the actual idea, the question itself would be disregarded simply because we would go against the nature of God.
Okay. One more question from the chat, and then I think we're going to go ahead and look over and we'll give you guys the judgment from the jury, and then we will give you guys your ability to give your shout outs and say goodnight. So last question. Do incentives create a reason to be better? Do you believe that a person can be incentivized to be a better person, to have better morals through perhaps positive reinforcement?
I outlined this. Yeah, I outlined this when he was saying force is the only motivator.
Okay.
I never said that it's the only motivator.
No, you said, okay, so that's the other part of the question then. What were the two things that you said were the motivator? You said there were two.
Coercion. It was coercion and force.
Is force not a form of coercion?
Well, you are threatened by force, right?
Yeah, so both are coercion.
The threat is not the threat is not force. Like you're not taking somebody and putting him in jail.
So you do not believe that a person is capable of benevolence?
Persons capable, I think persons are capable of benevolence, but that is the idea of benevolence in and of itself, right? It presupposes morals,
or just individual choice. A person can choose to make the moral choice despite never having set foot into a church. They can just choose to not hurt somebody through benevolence.
But you're presupposing morals, right? Well, again, hurt is another.
Moral
There
behavior.
are reasons why you want to. There are reasons why you want to hurt people that are moral. There, for example, if there was the case that you have to protect your family and you have to hurt somebody to protect your family, but hurting the other people would be moral because you ought to protect the family in a sense. But yeah, again, yes, I agree that there is capacity for people to be good. The people will act in accordance to God. People will do good things, but the way that I have access to the saying of, "Hey, you can do good," comes from my justifications come from God. And otherwise, it's just a thing that I prefer, and I don't have access to the framework of ethics. It's just everybody has their own thing, and all I have is kind of force.
All right. All right. Very cool. So I enjoyed the hell out of that conversation, gentlemen. That was a great debate. I think both of y'all did an amazing job. I'm looking forward to seeing what the audience thought. That was, let's see. I sure hope I put in the right vote. Did I put the right vote in? Did you guys vote? I hope everybody voted. I'm sure somebody would have told me if I'd have fucked up.
I didn't vote. That would be immoral.
That would be immoral because God told you so. All right. So let's make sure that people have voted. Yay! People voted. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it in right there. You guys had 30 minutes to vote. And our final tally comes out to be 18 votes in favor of Lethe Water Kai and 6 votes in favor of Emmett. So that makes it a 7-3 victory for Lethe. All right. So head on over here. Our next debate of the night is going to be between Razor Sharp G on the affirmative and Kung Fu Joe on the negative. Our prompt tonight is going to be evolution is scientific. So, first things first, please, Razor Sharp G, introduce yourself to the people. Tell us where we can find you.
Hello and welcome, everyone. And thank you for having me, Horseradish, for this wonderful showcase on the DMZ. If you, after tonight, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, see me do funny voices like this one, like Cell, like Beetlejuice. Other different things for all the games I play and for anything I talk about. Follow me at RazorSharpG, Twitch.tv. Hope we have a good day today.
All right, good stuff. And Joe, I actually don't have your socials yet. If you want to message those to me, I'll drop them in the chat as well. I don't know if you're streaming or if you stream or if you're available anywhere. I do know that you're about to be in that Word War debate competition, so hopefully you've at least got a fucking Twitter or something folks can follow. But please, sir, tell us who you are. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Really loudly, and I'll fix that too. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're perfect.
Okay. All right. So I guess first off, thank you, Horse, for having me. I know you've invited me a few times, and due to scheduling conflicts, I couldn't make it. But alas, I am here. And a little bit about me is I'm a veteran in the fighting game community. I play the best fighting game of all time, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I've been in the community for about over 25 years. And I kind of gradually made my way over to debating during the COVID era, just still kind of on a hobby level. But I've been kind of making some people very upset and angry in a few places. And so here I am. I've gained a little notoriety here and there, especially for debating things like evolution, feminism, and kind of like the debate you just heard between Lethe and I'm sorry, didn't catch the Emmett, I think. Yeah. So I'm here to continue the march for our Christian brothers against the atheists tonight.
All right. All right, there you go. So once again, do you stream Kung Fu?
Yes, I stream fighting games. I'm on Twitch at Kung Fu Joe. I have a Twitter. You could look me up at Joe PC Bro on X. I don't have a YouTube channel yet, but that will be coming soon once I put some content on there.
Evolution is scientific. Razor Sharp G. 5 minutes is on the clock, sir. I will start the clock when you start to talk.
Welcome to science class, everyone. I am your teacher, Razor, and with me tonight we have a very special guest, Joe. Tonight we discuss the scientific method and how evolution clearly follows it. We need to start with a quick overview of the skeleton our guest will more than likely be using or sticking to, which is question, research, hypothesis, test hypothesis, check results, repeat. This is the most bare bones form of the scientific method. We can clarify it later, but let's start with what it's not. It's not a formula that you can plug variables into like a math problem, and it's not magic. Among the many ways the scientific method can be done, there are two large overlaps: observation and prediction. We can observe this with something like snails, nautiloids, squids, octopi, and cuttlefish, which reveal similar body forms for each. One possible explanation is they somehow independently acquired equivalent organs coincidentally. But the most likely reason is inheritance through common ancestry, a parsimony, if you will. There is little doubt to the study of evolution as a cause of diversity of life on Earth is directed by forming and empirically testing hypotheses. According to the hypothetical deductive methodology, my new favorite STEM word, by the way, this is also used in physiochemical sciences and other empirical disciplines that investigate causative processes, such as physics, chemistry, electromagnetics, and so many others. Let's also be sure that we're clear. Evolution is not just one big thing. It's a multidisciplinary field of study. We have taxonomy, systematics, paleontology, biogeography, comparative anatomy, comparative embryology, comparative molecular biology, and even the mechanics of evolution is multidisciplinary. We got population genetics, population ecology, paleobiology, molecular biology, and so much more. We can get into all these details possibly throughout this prompt, and I would love to, but we're going to stick to the prompt of figuring out if evolution is scientific. And based on what I've shown you so far, and as we get into this, I would prefer that our guest sticks to the prompt and actually gives evidence or a falsification, if you will, that shows how the overall study of evolution is not scientific. Done.
All right. All right, very cool. Well, then in that case, Kung Fu Joe, just so you know, this is your first time here. I'm going to put 5 more minutes on the clock. This part is for you to use to ask directed questions of Razor. You can use this time to set up arguments for yourself. Use this to knock down arguments he's already made. It is entirely your choice. Ultimately, it is your time to use as you see fit. I'll start the clock when you start to talk.
Could I ask a clarification? So it doesn't go opening statement.
No,
It
goes open question,
cross-exam.
open cross. That's right. You'll get to set up your arguments here for your opening statement, and then after that, he is going to get the chance to poke holes as he sees fit. So,
got it. Okay.
Go ahead and question him now, and then you'll get to open.
Yeah, okay, Razor. So the problem with the
Hi.
approach you unfortunately chose to take here tonight is that it assumes that Common Ancestry is the only game in town as far as an explanation for why we see either similarities in genotype or
May I ask
phenotype.
if there's a question here?
So, yeah, I'm getting to that. So,
Okay.
what I'm going to ask you is, if we were, let's say, to walk into a crime scene, and there's a body on the floor that has different weapon wounds, and there's a variety of weapons in the room that has, you know, blood on it, how would we determine which weapon committed the crime? Yeah.
Could you clarify that a little bit? It was a little. Apologize.
If you have a body with multiple wounds on it, for weapon wounds, and then you have a variety of weapons in the room, how would you determine which, if any, of the weapons in the room were used in the murder?
So this is going to be forensics. More than likely,
Yeah, I
you'll take
understand
it. You
that.
will observe. I know. You will more than likely observe you'll observe the room first, and then make a hypothesis.
Hold on,
to
I gave
what
you
the
I
what
gave you the observation already. I already gave you the
Yes.
observation. The observation is you find a dead body with wounds, and you also have weapons with blood on it. That's the observation. What's the question you ask from that observation?
The question you would ask is what could have happened here.
Well, would you ask the question, could one of these weapons have been used in the murder?
Possibly.
You
It's not
wouldn't
just one
ask
question
that
at a time
question?
for the scientific method. It's
If
not just
you're-
one
if
question
you're-
at a time with the scientific method.
Bro,
It's not
this is
just
my
one question at a
cross-exam.
time. You can
This is
ask
my
multiple. I
cross-exam.
know.
Stop interrupting my
I
cross-exam.
know. I'm answering your
Listen,
I'm answering your
no,
question.
you're not. No, you're not. I'm asking you,
I literally am.
would it not, listen to me, would it not be reasonable to ask which one of the weapons, if any, might have been involved in the crime? Is that a reasonable question to ask?
You worded that weirdly.
Yes or
I'm
no?
sorry. Like you worded it weirdly. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying.
Please restate your question.
I'm being serious. Legitimate.
You're trying to dribble out the time right now.
There's going to be a whole half hour. Just go ahead and restate the question, please.
Yeah, if you, again, wouldn't it be reasonable to ask which one, if any, of the bloodstained weapons in the room were possibly responsible or used in the crime? Yes.
Yeah,
so what
because
would you
the scientific
do to
method allows you to
determine?
ask multiple questions.
Okay. Yes. Yes. You don't have to bloviate. So what
It's
then
not
would
bloviating,
you do
just
next?
answer.
What would you do next?
Gather evidence.
To do what? What the evidence are the weapons, right? Would you pick up, what would you do in order to figure out which one of the weapons
make
were
more
used?
observations of where they are, where the blood splatter would be, where the blood would drip. You make a bunch of different observations while gathering evidence.
I told you what the observation was already. This is the second time now.
You need to make multiple. Yes, I know. There needs to be multiple observations beyond just, I see body with holes. You need to look around and gather the evidence by observing more evidence.
Are the bloodstained weapons the evidence? Would you consider that evidence?
What does that have anything to do with? What does this have anything to do with science?
My goodness, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
No, what is what does that have to do with evolution?
Crazy.
Too, like, what are you?
That's crazy.
Like, I'm
It's
legitimately.
I'm sure he's going to get to that, Razor, if you just answer.
I don't. I'm trying to answer. Yes, I'm trying to answer, and I've answered multiple times. Like you observe.
I asked you a question. No, I asked you a question.
Yes.
I said, would the bloodstained weapons be considered evidence?
Yes. No shit.
Yes. Okay. So when you
I answered that.
evidence, no, you didn't, dude. You danced around.
Yeah,
and
I
said,
said you observe them, and you said that you gather evidence by observing them.
Stop what you're doing right now. Stop what you're doing. What would you do with
answering
the
your question?
next?
I haven't even answered your questions.
What
I'm
would
answering
you
your
do
question.
with the evidence next?
You catalog it. You gather the evidence,
and then
you need to do
then,
that.
Yeah,
and
what
then
you gathered it, and then what? Yeah, you gathered it. Then what?
Go ahead and answer that.
Then you check for a hypothesis. Then you make a hypothesis as to what happened. Like what the. What are you doing?
How would
All
you?
right. All right. No, it's okay. It's okay. Time's up. You're going to get your chance to cross-examine him later. So option is now yours, or the time is now yours, Kung Fu Joe. This is your uninterrupted opening. You've got up to 5 minutes. Go ahead and lay it out for us.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the question is evolution scientific? No, it is a post hoc story that fills in the gaps, and it used certain, scientifically observable things as kind of like a faux buttress to it. So, what is evolution? Evolution is basically just the hypothesis that species change over time, share common ancestors, and diverge through a process called natural selection. It posits that organisms with heritable traits better suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those advantageous traits to offspring. But one of the immediate logical contradictions that one can notice from this view is that if all life evolved from microorganisms, it would posit that evolving from a microorganism into a larger multicellular life form would be the clearly advantageous path that the environment was selecting for. But if that were true, why would we still have microorganisms today? How did they escape the selection pressures that caused the transitional branching off into larger organisms? You can also see this contradiction in asexual reproduction. If asexual, aka in house reproduction, was advantageous for millions of years, why would sexual reproduction suddenly be more advantageous when the life form now necessarily needs to take on the need for more energy to find mates and take on a lot more risk having to fight off rival suitors, often in mortal combat? In some cases, the mating itself leads to death, and one needs to wonder what would be the evolutionary advantage of a female black widow eating the male black widow mid-coitus? Wouldn't the male being able to go on living to impregnate multiple females be more beneficial to the species? You can see a similar problem in the peacock mating ritual. It doesn't seem that the female is choosing a mate based on the best ability to survive. The female peacock actually selects against survival fitness when it chooses a mate based on its giant train, aka tail, possessed by the desired male peacock. The tail of the male peacock serves no other purpose but a display ritual for mating. It weighs the animal down and costs more calories and energy to have. Yet the female seems to always select for this trait. These and other species seem to challenge the very theory of evolution itself and poke holes in the so called theory. The second problem with evolution is that it's touted as a valid scientific theory. But in order to be considered a valid scientific theory, at minimum, it must make its way through the scientific method. Now, a scientific theory is a likely explanation of what causes an observable natural phenomenon based on an experiment using a scientific method. The scientific method goes as follows: observation, question, what causes phenomenon? Hypothesis, I think X causes the phenomenon. Experiment, introduce X, remove X, repeat, draw a conclusion, and develop a scientific theory. Evolution is claimed to be a scientific theory because it can, but because it cannot be run through this experimental process, my conclusion is that it is not a valid scientific theory. This brings this brings me to the second condition for qualifying as a scientific theory is its explanation of falsifiability. Basically, I will not accept an unfalsifiable answer to the question of what would falsify evolution. For instance, my opponents will often try to falsify evolution by positing that the discovery of an unknown life form that would be phenotypically and genotypically completely different from us could emerge. But the problem with that is if it was unsimilar to us in genotype and phenotype, then it probably wouldn't even have the function to exist in the first place because most similarity is just related to function in our environment. And I'd like to close by just reminding my opponent and the audience that this is not an evolution versus Christianity debate, so I do not need to defend my Christian worldview at all. I could take the position of a pastafarian, believing in a flying spaghetti monster, and it absolutely wouldn't make a difference. I'm critiquing evolution by its own standards and that of the scientific method. Thank you.
Landed that right on the button. Well done there, Kung Fu. All right, so it is now going to be your opportunity to cross-examine Razor. 5 minutes. This is for directed. Remember, we're going to go to 30-minute open conversation after this. I will ask you both to please continue to keep it civil. I appreciate this. You go ahead. Your time is now.
Sorry, grabbing my stuff. I have the notes and everything. Okay. What do you believe falsifiability is?
I believe in the Popperian standard for falsifiability when it comes to scientific theories.
Could you explain that a little bit? Popperian, I've never heard that name.
Ooh, you shouldn't be debating me on evolution then.
Could you explain it?
That's a loss for you.
No, can you explain it, my dude? Like for the audience as well. I may have never heard it as well, but the audience probably never heard it. That's a weird fucking name I've never heard before. Can you explain
Bro,
falsifiability?
this is so
Because I
bad
can
for
tell you
you.
what falsifiability is myself, but if you have
Google
your own
I'll let
version of
you.
it.
I'll allow you to.
No, do you
Google
have
it.
no? I need you to answer a question. I need you to answer a question and not run like a child. Please answer.
It's
What is
so
falsifiability? Just answer.
Popper made up a list of standards to prove falsifiability for valid scientific theories.
And those are
Karl Popper.
I know who Karl Popper is. I'm asking you.
No, you don't.
Sorry, you. Oh, you said Karl Popper. You said
Karl Popper.
You said something else. I misheard. I'll admit I misheard you because I do know Karl Popper. I just never heard his falsifiability thing. I apologize. I misheard.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, Popper's falsifiability standard. Yes, correct.
I misheard. Okay, I misheard. If you had said the full name, I would have gotten it. I know him as Karl Popper. I never hear him as just Popper. I never hear just Popper.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is his criteria for falsifiability? You didn't.
Well,
No, you
let's
didn't.
see.
You just said that.
For a theory to be considered scientific, it must be capable of being proven false through empirical observation.
Okay, so pretty close to what I have. Thank you.
Okay.
To prove to be false, hypothesis that's generated must be able to be tested and either accepted or rejected. It's very close. What specific scientific method do you follow? Because there's more than one way to do it. Which one do you follow?
The one that would most likely introduce a symmetry breaker between more than one hypothesis.
Would you say that multiple different scientific studies altogether with plenty of evidence would open the door to saying that a idea that they all agree on is scientific?
No, that's a fallacy. That's a ad populum fallacy.
That they all agree on based on the evidence? I don't feel like that's an ad populum. I feel like they have plenty of evidence. Like they all corroborate evidence. Do you think if they all corroborate evidence, do you think if they all corroborate the same evidence that it would then prove that there's not prove, because science never truly proves anything so much as it gives it constantly evolves.
No, the standard. No, the standard of which the evidence would be proven would be the scientific method. That's what science is done. It's not done through ad populum agreement.
Yes, I know. What do you believe the science? Like when I was I right that you're in this bare bones skeleton only type of understanding of the scientific method? Or
Well, I guess you didn't understand my answer to your earlier question. You said how would you determine it? And I would
I
say I
defined
would use
falsifiability. I said falsifiability with my earlier question. I'm
not.
asking
I don't
now
mean that
specifically,
question.
what is the?
I wasn't talking about that question. You asked me earlier how I would prove whether or not a theory like a hypothesis was correct. Like the thing is, if there were more than
No, I
one
asked
competing
you.
hypothesis, yeah, if there were more
Mhm.
than one competing hypothesis, I would use the original scientific method that you learn like in high school.
So so as I said, the basic bare bones
The
one where no, there is no such
the
thing
one
as
where
the. There is no such
yeah,
thing as
when you
the
yes,
scientific
there
method.
is. If
No,
you
there's not.
if you
No, there is not.
Google the
There is no
yes, you
such
do.
thing
If
as
you
the scientific method. There's
you're wrong.
it is not
I
a
disagree.
because as I stated in my opener, there's as I stated in my opener, and you need to
Mhm,
understand when I say this, it is not a
mhm,
formula you just plug
mhm.
shit into.
Okay, so which one would you use to split? Okay, it's not my cross, but whatever.
Well,
Well,
actually,
I
so
just now saw the time.
we're going to the 30 minutes, and I am currently doing exactly as I was just asked, and I am looking up the scientific method so I can see before I start that
You can just
timer.
look up scientific method.
Yep.
Can you go
Usually
So
it
to
just
the
comes up as
photos?
scientific method.
Hold on, it.
scientific
Can you go to
method,
the
of course.
photos,
I'm
Horse
going.
Radish?
Yep. I'll go backwards, but just from Wikipedia first. Scientific method is an empirical method for acquiring knowledge through careful observation, rigorous skepticism, hypothesis testing, and experimental validation. Developed from ancient and medieval practices, it acknowledges that cognitive assumptions can distort the interpretation of observation. All right. So going back to our basic, we have. I don't like the wiki or the search assistant.
Ask it for the steps.
Scientific.
Yep, this is what I thought.
Ask it
Okay,
for the steps to the scientific
sure.
method. Yeah.
The steps of
If you were to go to the images, I
the
just saw it
sure.
there.
Yep,
You would
yep.
have
And
it.
we'll go back to that too. Steps of the scientific method. Okay. So you're saying go to images. We can do that instead. Boom. This is what you're looking for. Steps in the scientific method: asking a question, formulation of hypothesis, design of experiments, logical reasoning, testing of hypothesis, formulation of theory. So now, I'm putting 30 minutes on the clock. Go ahead, gentlemen, and do me a favor if you would. Please try to engage in the questions that are asked to us. Again, this is both directions. Try to actually engage with the arguments if you would, please, as you were.
Mhm. So as I
Yeah.
was
So
saying, there is no such thing as the scientific method. As multiple times has been said, more than like what you have just said. Sorry, more than likely what you have most of the time what you have said is usually what you see at like school science fairs, where you think it's almost always question, hypothesis, procedure, data, conclusion. That and then repeat like that.
you were
Correct?
just
Is that
proven
what you
wrong
believe it
on
is?
that. No, you
No,
were just proven wrong on that because when
no.
we looked it
Would
up,
you
it
like
was
to? Would you
exactly
like
the
to
one
engage
that
with what I'm saying? Would you like to engage with what I'm saying?
I
I'm
did.
asking
I
you
am.
now.
I
Do you
no.
believe?
Yeah, I
Do you
am.
believe that
Stop
it is
saying you're
the way? It
wrong.
is the way it's done in like it's all at all times on the expert levels. That it is only ever
Mhm.
done, uh, in this weird like rigid. It has to ask the question first, then you make the hypothesis, then you do a
Yeah.
procedure, data, conclusion, and then repeat like that. It
Right.
has to be like that. That's what
Okay.
you're asking?
So what?
Is
Yeah.
that what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
asking? That was
So
you think it is, I mean. That what you think it is?
well, I'm asking how would you what other scientific method would you use as a symmetry breaker between two or more competing theories?
I'm again asking you, like, do you
What?
know how the scientific method actually works? I'm asking you,
I
do you
know
know how,
that.
like, it
And
actually works? How it's
okay,
used in
listen, I'm
science, like,
granting
not
you
just what it is.
okay, listen. You got to pay attention here.
Mhm.
Lock in, all right? If I'm
You
granting
need to
you
lock
that
in as
there's
well because 'cause
more
you're not listening.
bro, listen.
Please.
If I'm
I
going to
am.
grant you that there's if I'm going to grant you that there's more than one scientific method, I'm going to
Mhm.
ask you now, which one are you going to use as a symmetry breaker between two or more
It depends on the discipline.
hypotheses?
It depends on the
What?
discipline.
Okay, let's say
It
let's
depends on the
say
discipline.
common ancestor. let's say common ancestor theory has more than one competing hypothesis, right? Let's say there's flying spaghetti monster created everything as it is and just made them all similar.
Why are we
It,
doing pseudo
dude,
religious
stop,
stuff on
stop.
this?
I'm asking you a hypothetical. You're
Mhm.
not engaging. I'm saying that you have multiple competing hypotheses. You could say
Mhm.
aliens came here and made every life form the way it is, and not that it
Mhm.
evolved from a single common ancestor. So I need you to tell
Mhm.
me if you hypothetically, let's say Thanos snapped the theory of evolution out of all our brains and we had no record of it tomorrow, how would
Mhm.
you rediscover that theory all over again just using the scientific method? Like, what would be the observation? You find a fossil in the ground, and then what?
You observe, so, and you need to not interrupt me when I do this. You observe, question, observe more, continue to question. You make a hypothesis. You look for more. You look for more. You then observe again. You then test the hypothesis. Then you observe the test. Then you observe the hypothesis. Then you test. Then you possibly
Okay,
go
you're no,
back
no,
and
no. You're
test another
going too
hypothesis.
far. No, step by step only. Step by step only. So one step
That's
at a
your
time, please.
problem. You're not
No,
understanding
one
what I'm
step at a
saying.
time, dude.
You're not
I am
understanding what
understanding.
I'm saying when I'm no, you're
I am
not, because you
understanding.
just
You're
did
going
that.
through
You
each,
just said because you
you're
just
just
did that.
no, no. You're just rambling
No, I
through
am
every
understanding. You're
step.
not getting what I'm
I'm
saying.
asking you.
The
No, I'm
scientific
asking you
method
to
is not a rigid
step by
thing,
step, dude. Calm down. I'm
and
asking you. What do you
evolution does this.
listen? Stop, dude. I'm asking you. Look, you
Stop me
find
giving
a
you answers.
fossil. You stop you find a fossil. You look at it. What's
Uh-huh.
the question you
Uh-huh.
ask about the fossil?
How old is this? How old is this, or what is this to?
How
Those
old
are two different
is
questions
this?
you could ask. You could ask those two
Okay,
different questions. Yeah. You could ask multiple different
okay.
questions. Like, would you like a
You.
specific question for this hypothetical, or do you want me
I'm
to
just
go as
saying.
many
How do you
questions as to ask?
get me to the theory of evolution? Get me to finding a fossil to you coming to the conclusion that it's got to be common
This is
ancestry.
not a
That
a type of hypothetical that gets you to evolution alone, because it's only fossil here versus the many fields of science that would teach you what evolution actually says. The fossils is just one part, paleontology. There's also
okay.
genealogy. There's
How do you
also things
listen?
like Pictalis, who when that
No, no,
because
no. That
predictions,
now you're all over the
as
place.
I said in my no, because as I said in my opener, there's the two biggest overlaps among every single scientific method that can be used is observation and predictions. Predictions can sometimes be first. You can end up thinking, I believe that so and so will be at this area and it will be this many years old. And then they go and look in that area and they find it, and then they test it with the proper dating method, not just carbon. So I know how you work, not understanding how to actually measure things. Um, with proper
What's
dating
the
methods,
dating
they end up
method?
finding out that not only there's multiple
What's the
different
proper dating
ones.
method? What's the
There
proper
it
one?
depends on the mineral slash layer that you are using,
Uh,
that you were trying to date.
and what's the margin of error?
The margin of error can be anywhere from again, it depends on what you're measuring. It could fuck, I forgot what was it called? It was there's carbon dating, radiometric dating. Fuck, what was the other dating? There was the other dating method. Did I not grab those?
Do you know why all of those go out the window?
No, they don't.
Do you know why they do?
Let
Do you
me
know why I
understand
can
your
yeah,
misunderstanding.
no, do you why the reason why I could throw all those away is because even if you were to find a like a falsification for that, you could just
I
say
already know what
that
you're gonna
well,
talk about.
stop, dude. You're gonna why are you
You're
interrupting?
pretending.
Why are you interrupt? I was right in the middle of talking. Why are you interrupting me? You
Okay,
have
go
so
ahead.
little confidence
Be
in your
wrong.
position.
Okay,
Okay.
be wrong. Go
It,
ahead.
okay. Yeah. Stop interrupting me for being right. So
Be wrong. Go
you
ahead.
would
Just
you would
continue.
have dude, you just
Got it.
can't help yourself, can you? How can we
And you
ever
can't
do
help but
this?
not
How can
continue.
we
Please
do this?
continue.
How can you do
Please
this if you
continue.
keep interrupting me?
Please
Every time I
continue.
try,
Please
every time I
continue.
try, okay,
I
I'll wait
know
till you're
you're not
quiet.
continuing. You just keep whining.
I'll wait till
Continue.
you're quiet, dude. I'll wait till you're quiet. Okay. So, like, look, how would you prove common ancestry? What's the proof?
Again, science doesn't deal in absolutes and proofs.
So,
No science.
wait,
No
hold on,
science
wait.
does. Don't try. Don't
So
try.
the
The science
science,
does not deal in absolutes.
so what, so what proves evolution is true?
It's the amount of evidence that makes it beyond a reasonable doubt.
What's the evidence?
There is many different avenues. As I said,
Give me
evolution
one.
is
Give
not
me
just
one piece
one
of
big thing.
evidence.
Evolution is not just one big thing. It's a
Give me
it's a
one piece of
multifaceted.
evidence.
It is a multifaceted. Let me
Bro,
finish.
give
It
me
is a
one of those
multifaceted.
multifacets. I don't care about your explanation. Give me one of those explanations.
I
Give me
said it in my I
something.
said it in my open.
What is
I
one?
said it in my
What is
open.
one piece? Dude, don't dodge
Taxonomy,
and say I said it.
systematics,
No, taxonomy.
paleontology,
No,
biogeography,
no,
comparative anatomy,
no. Give me
comparative
one. Stop rattling
embryology.
them
Which
off.
one?
Stop
Which
rattling
one do
off.
you want?
No,
Which one do you
pick a
want?
single thing. Pick a single piece of
I want you to
evidence.
choose because you
One.
don't seem to understand that
No,
it's
pick
all of them.
one.
Which one?
No, what the fuck?
Which one do you
How am I
want?
going to ask you to? I'm going to ask you to give me one piece
I'm
of
asking you
evidence, and
specifically so I know. I'm asking you
you're
specifically
asking
so
me
that I
which
know
one
what
I
to look for.
want.
Which one
It's
do you
not
want?
my view, bro.
From which field? From which field do you want the
Evolution
most?
from
Taxonomy,
your field, the one
systematics,
you believe in.
paleontology.
Evolution.
I
Proof
believe
for
all.
evolution.
I trust in all of these fields because they have years
Okay,
of scientific
I'm sorry.
rigor behind
Horse,
them,
I
proving
can't do
many
this,
different
horse. I
things.
can't do this. I can't do
I'm
this. I'm asked what
asking
is
you. I'm
I'm
asking you
appealing
very
to the
light.
moderator. I'm gonna
Yep.
appeal to
No,
the
I'm
moderator.
I'm I'm here.
Asking you to give me something.
Hold on, Razor. So hold on. I am going to jump in because I feel like both of you guys are kind of talking past each other a lot, and you are both talking over each other. And I do understand. Like I get the little jabs, but we do have to actually try to answer the question. Let a person set up their argument, and then we can contend with their argument. I understand that you believe that you guys both already anticipate what the other person's going to say, and you're trying to get out ahead of it. But for the purposes of the audience, presume none of us have seen this argument play out. So let us actually hear the arguments be made. Please continue.
Okay, so back to my question.
I would like you
Can
to.
you give me a singular piece of evidence for evolution being scientific? One
It's
single
going to.
scientific
It's
piece of
going
evidence.
to. It is
One, just
going
one.
to.
He's
It
going to
is
give you the
going
one.
to depend on what you. I'm trying to give you one, but I need you to answer this question. I need you to answer a question, or you're not going to be able to get the one because I want to be
not.
able to sure I grab you the right
No.
evidence.
I'm only going to ask you that question, and you're going to do your best.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you for clarification. Do you want it to be taxonomy, systematics, paleontology, biogeography, comparative anatomy, comparative embryology, or comparative microbiology? Which one do you want?
Make
Because
an
those are all
argument.
different fields.
Give me
Those
the
are
one
all
you're
different
most
fields of
confident in.
evolution.
Give
They're
me
all
the one you're
evolution.
most. Bro.
Yep. So he's asking you to give him the one that you are most confident in. Lay out whichever one you prefer. Let him hear it so he can contend with that one individually. Please.
I did bring it up. It was another piece that I brought up in my opener. There's the it's a comparative, comparative anatomy. Jesus Christ, comparative anatomy. With
Why is
the
compare?
squids, the cephalopods.
Okay, yeah, that's it. You said it. You said it. Thank you. Comparative anatomy. Tell me why comparative anatomy is proof that we have common ancestry.
Again, not proof, evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
You got
How
be
is
sure you
that?
have the be sure you have
I
the be sure you
understand.
have the
Yeah,
correct
I understand. It's
verbiage.
evidence. Okay, tell me how it's evidence when the further back you go in time, we are more dissimilar than similar.
Actually, the more you look at our bone structures and the way that
You
they are
didn't hear
placed
me.
and what they are.
You didn't hear me.
I
You didn't
did.
hear what I just said.
I
No,
did.
you didn't.
You
I'm
said
sorry,
the
Kung
further
Fu
we
Joe.
go back,
Kung
the
Fu
more
Joe, can
dissimilar
you
we are?
explain how we were more different further back, please?
Yeah, so
Someone
the further back yeah, so there are certain similarities he's talking about, like apes, right? Like great apes and stuff like that. But the further back you go, the more the tree goes backwards to like reptiles, then fish, then I guess, I don't know, smaller ocean creatures, and then microscopic life. So the further back you go in the evolutionary tree, so to speak, the more dissimilar we are from each other as far as like phenotype. So I'm trying to ask him, if that's a fact underneath the evolutionary theory, how could just similarities in later life forms be proof that we came from a life form further back that is dissimilar from us today?
And once again, this is why I said it's not always just one thing, because when you ask for just one thing, you are missing so many details that come alongside the phenotypes and the anatomy. You're missing so
But did you
much
hear
when
my
you ask for
question?
one thing.
So okay,
And I said, if you wanted to go with anatomy, I can give you
But there's a question
at
in
least the
there. Did you
small
hear
of
the question?
anatomy.
The question is, how does similarity
Mhm.
prove that we
I,
share common ancestry,
how is
given the
similarity
reasoning I
evidence for
gave
it?
you? Yes,
How is similarity evidence of it?
given the argument against
Mhm.
similarity that I just gave and that Horse and the audience just heard, what is the reason
Mhm.
that similarity holds up now? Can you deal with my argument and how similarity now holds up under the argument I just gave?
I'm going to answer this entirely, but I need to ask you a clarifying question, so don't spurg on me. I need to ask you, do you know how the evolutionary tree is? Do you
Generally,
understand
yes.
what that is?
he says generally.
Yes.
So go
I
on.
wouldn't.
You know how
Yeah.
okay. So the evolutionary tree has many branches. There's a reason why microorganisms still exist, even though we have higher evolved things. There's a reason why certain creatures still exist, even though they are comparatively close to comparatively or genetically similar to later more evolved species. Because they are what the later species are branches after something called
I
uh
understand that.
fail
I
a
understand.
failed after what's something called a failed replication or
I
flawed
understand, but
replication,
how does this address my argument?
because the anatomy is as you get more and more evolved, there becomes a point with, like, say, Tiktaalik, as people always talk about, where once you get from there, where it actually has a bone structure, that bone structure is then later seen very similar to every bone structure on the planet of any what is the word for it, like when you have your bones on the inside, vertebrates. Yeah, thank you there, thank you, me. With modern vertebrates, the bone structures are in similar shape, are in similar similar placements, but with different shapes. Uh, like certain joints are in certain spots, certain ligaments are in certain spots, because
But but how does this
as the
address
failed
my argument?
replication continue to happen, by telling you
How does
that comparative
this
anatomy because by telling you that comparative anatomy shows that from the first vertebrate all the way to now, the bone structure changed only in size and
changed where?
shape,
Where do you
not
see
in
a change?
layout.
Where's there a change? You didn't observe any change.
You do through the
Where?
continuous and this is where the other part comes in. Like I said, evolution is a multidisciplinary field, which is why it's
Hmm.
scientific. The multidisciplinary field of all the different sciences of paleontology and archaeology are able to and then all these comparative anatomies are able
Wait,
to work together to find
how
fossils,
do you
and to
use
find fossils.
paleontology? Can I ask you, how do you use paleontology to see a change in genotype and phenotype?
Did I mix up paleontology and the other
You
one?
did say paleontology.
I know I mixed I did I mix paleontology fucking art. I said
That's what I
archaeology as
heard.
well. Why did I add paleontology? Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. Why did I add
archaeology.
paleontology?
Why does archaeology?
Sorry.
How does archaeology prove that you're seeing any changes in one life form to another?
One more time. I apologize.
How does archaeology show any changes happening from one life form to another? You don't observe any
Well,
change there.
most archaeology is like when it comes to the human evolution, like that's for society type stuff. If we stick with so again, I don't know why I added that. Paleontology is
Did you
actually
hear
what
my
I think is what I
question?
want. Continue.
Did you hear my question?
How does archaeology
Yeah,
do
how
what
does
again?
how does it contribute to your evolutionary theory? How does it prove anything? What does archaeology do for the to make evolution scientific?
I was thinking paleontology. I keep you screwed me over. I keep mixing up paleontology and archaeology. Paleontology is the study of bones. Fuck me.
Because you dig for
Archaeology is more the
both.
study of
Go on.
ancient.
Civil
Yes, you dig
aids.
for both. That's why I mixed them up in my head. Fuck me. Yes, no. Paleontology is the word I was looking for. I said archaeology because that's for like human evolution of societies. Paleontology is the study of the bones. Sorry, so it is paleontology I was talking about. I apologize. That is
Based on bones.
brain fart on that
Okay,
one.
so what about do you remember my question or do I have to repeat
Ask
it?
the question again, please.
Yeah,
I know. I think
Just ask it
yeah,
again.
how does any of this yeah, how does the paleontology or whatever you want to use, like how geology, any of that, how does that support evolution as a scientific theory?
again, thanks to evolution being a multidisciplinary facet, paleontology. Let me finish the whole thing before you whine about it. Paleontology is one aspect where they are able to find the bones, date them with. I had the invading. You
I didn't
have
ask I didn't ask you to tell me how it works. I want you to tell me how does it support the theory of evolution? How?
because comparative anatomy mixed
You just
with. Let me finish. Because with comparative anatomy, comparative embryology, and comparative molecular biology, all three of these things can combine to with paleontology to grab all the data we need that shows, oh, this is a former
Okay,
ancestor
I get it.
of
I
these
get it. No,
creatures.
hold on. How do you know that? How do you know it's a former ancestor? You get a fossil and you look at a fossil. How does the
Mhm.
fossil tell you anything? How does it tell? Like,
With
let's say you
comparative
figure out.
anatomy,
Hold on.
with
Wait. 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 Wait.
comparative
Wait. Wait. Wait.
anatomy,
Wait. 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 No. 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 We did the comparative anatomy thing already.
it's
You already
still
admit
connected
that
to
comparative.
suddenly,
Dude,
like
you
the leg bones
admitted that
connected to the
comparative
bone. I
anatomy
need
is
to
not
finish what I'm talking
enough.
about
You
here.
said comparative anatomy is not enough, and I'm like,
Because
okay,
yes,
what
because
else on
like I
top of it?
said, evolution
Oh.
is more than just one thing at a time. It's
I
everything
understand that,
all
but every
together.
time you're doing the
You
ultimate
don't
Mott and
seem
Bailey
to.
because every time I corner you on
I'm not
one, you
Mont
escape
Bailing.
to
I'm
another.
answering your
Yes,
questions.
you are. You're doing an
No, I'm
infinite
answering your
Mott and
question by
Bailey.
letting you know that all of these
No,
things
you're
go to
not.
different things. Yes, I am.
I ask you how
Evolution is a
I say,
multifaceted.
okay, and then I ask you, okay, give me the proof that give
What
me the
what
support.
what what does each of the different forms of evidence contribute to the greater picture, Razor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I just
They
want to
can.
know one at a time.
Yep.
Just
That's the
one.
problem. You saying you want to know one at a time.
He
The
doesn't
fossils.
think it
Focus on the
requires
fossils.
just one, Razor. To be fair, he doesn't think it requires just
I
one.
don't.
He just wants to engage with each one in turn. That's why I'm saying give them out one at a time. Let him engage with it individually. He understands
I'll
that you
go.
believe that it's going to require all of them, but go through them one at a time for him, please. Continue.
I'll go hyper specific. I'll go hyper specific to make it as easy as possible. A fossil,
Please do.
right?
It.
So if you look at the fossils, how does the fossil record support any kinds of stories of a transitional period from like a Pakicetus to a whale? Like, tell me how that supports the theory of evolution. Fossils.
So I am going to start at step with one step real quick, and you're going to
Just
probably
just
groan
do
when I
it.
say it.
Just do it.
Using comparative anatomy.
Okay. Using comparative anatomy, go on.
Using comparative anatomy, we can take a look at the bones of the Pakicetus and the other transitional. I think it was Pakicetus, Ambulocetus, and I forget the entire line. You can find a structure in the Pakicetus's snout that you can only then later find moved to a different spot on modern day whales.
Moved
The
where?
comparative
Where did it
anatomy
move?
is being
How did it move? Wait, where did you see a move?
from the snoot,
No.
and
No. How do you
let
see
me
a
finish.
move? How
Let
do you see
me
a move
finish.
just by looking at a
Let
fossil?
me
Wait,
finish. Let me
wait. I
finish.
need a
Let him.
clarification.
Yeah,
me
he's
finish.
he's going to kung fu. He's gonna kung fu. I promise you. He will answer your question. Finish your point, Razor.
The way you can see it move is by finding and by predicting and then finding later iterations of this creature, which then scientists categorize into different species because they have changed so much. But they all have this very similar little piece in their skull that is just ever so slightly over generations, because it's a generation by generation thing what evolution does. That little piece of their snout was moving up and up and up and up till we end up where whales are right now, where their snout is at the very top of their heads after so many generations of imperfect mutations causing either detrimental and or either causing detrimental
I know the
and
theory.
or
I know the theory. Please save us the time. I already know this. Let me okay, so
did
is
you know
a
that
move dude, what the fuck?
Go
That's
ahead.
crazy. Dude,
No, why'd you
is a
ask me?
move is a move
Sorry.
you're over explaining. I already know that, but you didn't answer my question. So I'm gonna ask a
This
different
is
I'm
a
gonna
science
approach it a
class. I'm
different
trying to
way.
give everyone else in the
I'm going to
audience
give it
like
I'm
what
going
happened.
to ask a different way, okay? Is a
Mm.
move or a transition an event?
Is a move or a transition an event? What?
Yeah, a transition or a move, like the thing you're describing where one thing transforms into another, is that an event? A transition?
Mm, technically not. The way
That's
that
incorrect.
transition works is the way that transition works
No.
is
I didn't ask
it's
you
on a
about the
gradual.
process of transition. You're using the word transition. I'm asking you,
Yes,
in the word
it's gradual.
transition, is a transition an event? Gradual
When
transition
you look,
is gradual
when you,
transition an event? That's a
I'll,
yes or no.
I can answer that. Yes, I can answer that question with a question to you. Do you believe
Yes or
adaptation
no?
is an event?
No, it's a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question. I need to ask for
Mhm.
clarification. I need to be sure if you understand what you're saying here.
Yeah,
Do you believe
the
adaptation
move
is an event?
towards
Do you believe
yeah, I
adaptation is
think
an
that
event?
yeah, yeah, I believe the
Okay,
changes involved in adaptation are an event. Yes.
there you go. Then can then do that event 1,000 times over
So
for
wait, wait,
generation
wait,
over
wait, wait,
generation.
wait. So that event that you a transition or a change is an event. Yes, you accept that? I
I
just said
apologize
yes
here.
to
One more
your a move or a
time. Repeat that
transition.
sentence.
A
Mhm,
transition, as you're describing it, in
mhm,
incrementally is an event,
mhm.
even if it's happening incrementally. Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. Is a fossil an event?
it is the records of an event.
Is a fossil an event?
It's a records of the event.
Is a fossil an event? Yes or no?
It's the record of an event.
Is a
I'm
fossil an
answering
event?
you
Yes or no?
plainly. I'm
No,
answering you
that's not the
plainly. I
question I'm
said the
asking you.
record. It's
That's not the
a
question I'm asking
record
you.
of an
Is the
event. It's a
is
record
the
of an
fossil
event.
is a fossil an event? Yes or no?
It's a record of an event. Yes,
Bro, I'm gonna keep asking the
it's a
same
record
questions.
of an event
It's no, that's not the question I'm asking you. Is the fossil an
because you don't
event?
like
Yes
my
or no?
answer.
That's
The
not
fossil is a record
that's
of an
not
event that
answering.
happened.
That's not an answer to the
The
question I'm
fossil is the
asking you.
record of an event that happened.
I didn't ask that. I didn't ask if the fossil was a because you would need to prove
You
that. How do
asked,
you
is
prove
a
that?
fossil a record?
No, I did not. I asked
And
if it
that's
was an
not
event.
incoherent.
Is a fossil an
Yeah,
event?
sorry, I said record. My bad.
Is
You
a
saying a
fossil
fossil
an
is an event,
event?
and I'm
Is it
answering
an
by
event?
telling
Yes or
you
no? Is it? No,
It is
no.
the
I'm not asking that
record.
question.
It is the
No,
record
I
of an
didn't
event.
ask that. I didn't
Okay,
ask
so
that.
if it's
Either
hold on.
because
If it's the record of an event, then it is not an event. It is a representation of an event. So move on from there, Joe, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So that you're wrong there.
It's not a
there
wrong,
you go.
but
So,
it's we've established that it is a record of an event.
Yeah.
So go on.
Yeah. Get it? Yeah. So you you see how dodgy you are. So now, what
I'm
is
not
your?
dodging. I was
You're
answering the question
asserting. You're
directly.
asserting. You're asserting that it's a rec. It's a p. What is it? What did you say it was?
It is a record
How?
of an event that happened
How
in
do you know
a
that?
far away time.
How do you know that?
Transitionary fossils are,
No, you're
while
using the
rare,
thing in question. That's the thing in
yes.
question. The transitionary fossil, the fossil is not an
Mhm.
event. Transition is an
Yes,
event.
we're
A
calling it a
fossil, no, no,
transitionary fossil because we're saying
no,
we are recording that an event
no, dude.
happened at this point in time
You can't just
because
call it a
we
transitionary
dated this.
fossil
Let
because
me
a
finish. Let me
fossil is
finish.
not
Let me finish. Let me
transitionary.
finish. Let me finish.
You're just wrong.
The fossil is a record of an event that happened
How
long
do you
ago
know
that
that? I asked
scientists
you
can
how you know
find.
that. You
I'm
circled
answering.
back and you
I'm
say
answering. I'm answering. I'm
you
answering.
no, your answer
The
was
fossil.
I asked you
The
how do you know that and you
fossil.
said because it's similar. I
I'm
asked you how do you know it's similar
answering.
because it's
Okay, I'm
similar.
sorry. I'm sorry.
answering.
I have to interject. The answer is because of fossil depth. Please continue, Razor.
The
Wait,
fossil
that wasn't
is like the fossil. Let me finish. The fossil is a record of an event from from a far away time that it shows this species existed at this position, and a later fossil will then show something very similar, but with just a slight change, showing that an event happened in which a
what no
mutation
change.
happened
Wait,
because of
you're using that word,
Let me
you're
finish.
speaking in change.
Let
How is
me
there a change?
finish.
A change is an event.
Because of
A
mutate,
fossil's
I
not an
already said
event.
it. Let me already said it. An imperfect replication or a mutation.
Imperfect?
That change happens because of an
What's
imperfect
imperfect about it?
replication.
Wait. So are you saying that
Mhm.
human beings are just a series of
Of
imperfect or
imperfect replications,
accidents?
yes.
So
We are a
accidental
series of
replications?
imperfect replications. Do you look
Imperfect
exactly?
meaning
Hold on. Do you look?
accidental,
Hold on. Hold
right?
on. I can answer. I can answer that even better. Do you look like your father? Do
Imperfect?
you look exactly like your father?
I don't that has nothing to do with what I'm asking you.
It does. Do you look exactly like your
No,
father?
it doesn't. I'd say so. It
It does
seems
answer.
like
No, do
your
you look
brain is the
exactly
product
like
of
your father? Let me
imperfection
finish.
for sure.
I need you to answer this. Do you look exactly like your father?
It wasn't intended to be that way.
So you were adamant about him
Or
answering with
now
yeses and nos earlier. Kung Fu returned the favor.
Oh, no, I'm not exactly like my father. No.
exactly like your mother.
No.
Okay, then that means that there was an imperfect mutation that happened when they made
Says
you,
who?
and they didn't come out with a copy of anything. You are
Why
an
would that be
imperfect mutation
imperfect?
of you're not mutation, an imperfect you're an imperfect replication. Sorry. You're an
According
imperfect
to
replication.
who? According to who? Who's making that judgment?
According to science. According to how
Science
science
says
works
that I'm
and our
imperfect?
genes. Yes, all are.
How did science determine that that us coming out the way we were is
Your
imperfect?
genes. If you were legitimately
My
trying to
genes.
do this, oh, I'm perfect because whatever reason, that's so disingenuous. I need you to understand when I'm talking about your genes, our genes are constantly replicating each other, and
Im-
imperfect replications happen, which cause
What are you
mutations.
comparing perfect to? There's nothing perfect to compare to.
A
So how do
perfect
you know what
replication?
imperfect is?
What do you okay? What is
How
what is a perfect replication? What is a perfect replication? Do you know what a perfect
that would
replication
be
is?
something artificial. That would be like a fax
No,
machine.
no, like pretty close. Okay, that's relatively close. So like if I have like this little Kuromi doll, if I were able to create a second, like just snap and create a second one, and it looked exactly the same, it will be a perfect replication of that doll. When it comes to genetics, uh the way that when it comes to genetics, these imperfect replications go all the way back to the time when we were single cell organisms, where they would do mitosis, where they would
Wait,
split apart, where they would grow.
Okay, why would being
Mhm.
uh producing asexually, like why would producing sexually be an advantageous, like an advantage over asexual reproduction?
Greater diversity of the genes makes for stronger genes in the future, thus
Didn't need
making
that.
survivability even easier.
No, that's obviously false because single cell, asexual reproduction still exists.
You remember what I said about imperfect replication?
It doesn't
This
answer my
asexual thing
question.
you're talking about, this imperfect replication you're talking about, uh, not imperfect. This fucking not damn it, my god damn it, I'm saying it myself. The imperfect replication is
Mhm.
showing that this asexual replication you're talking about, that's where imperfect replication starts happening, because it can't always be perfect 100% of the time. You're not always going to have a
Mm.
perfect copy of the next gene. Something will
Yeah, but
fuck up,
you're not
and it will
addressing my
either be
question, though.
advantageous, or disadvantageous,
You're
disadvantageous. Jesus Christ.
But you didn't answer my
Sorry.
question, though.
Water.
Repeat the question then, please, Kung Fu.
The question was, if it was disadvantageous to reproduce asexually, why would we still have asexual reproduction today?
Did you
How
not
did
hear
it
what I said
escape
earlier about
let me finish. Escape the selection pressure?
let me finish. Did you not hear my earlier statement about how the tree of life works?
Just say it again.
Okay, so yeah.
The tree, when we look at the tree of life, it branches off. In the previous iteration, doesn't immediately go away, just like you being born didn't make your father immediately die. You are the next iteration of your father, and I am the next iteration of my father. Horse is the next iteration of his father. But are our fathers like actually dead? I'm sorry if I said that and someone's dad is actually dead. I apologize, but I'm trying to make a
Okay.
So, so is that?
Was there a question
Do you
there,
understand what
Razor?
I'm
Yeah.
saying when I say how the branch works? Do you know what I'm
just
saying when
don't
I say about how branching works?
I'm just saying, how would it doesn't make sense that it would be more advantageous to produce sexually when you're introduced to more threats and you need to spend more energy, and you'll
The
possibly
more
die, right?
biodiverse,
Like, so
you are, the more advantageous your survival is, or the more advantageous it becomes to survive and spread that even more, because more energy can end up being used. You end up consuming. You could end up consuming.
that's not true because asexual reproduction still exists. So if it was more
Again,
advantageous,
did you not hear what I
that
said
would
about
be
the branching?
yeah, I
The
know, but like
branching,
I said,
branching.
like you're
Those
going
things
in
are
circles
fine to stay where
because
they
it
are, because
okay, again,
there's God, what is the term? There's a very specific term for it. It's like something
okay, you're
equilibrium,
not connecting.
like horseshoe crabs. Do you know those things have been around for fucking millennia, and they just never evolved. But there are plenty of creatures that are basically offsprings of those things. They're
Yeah,
later
okay.
iterations of it.
Yeah,
That's
okay. Did so
that's what I'm talking about. The evolutionary tree
mhm,
branches.
okay. What would falsify evolution?
If you can find it, and you already said it in your thing, and you seem to sneer at it. It's finding this is one of the many, finding something that has no comparative anatomy, biology, uh or molecular, yeah, it has no comparative anatomy or molecular biology to the rest of the creatures that we have found, which is why I say, and this is why I keep trying to specify, science never says we have a 100% definitive proof. We have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Whoa,
Because
hold on
every
there. Yeah, hold on there. And if you go back to Karl Popper's standard for falsifiability, this would not pass.
All right, so real quick, I'm gonna jump in there since Karl Popper's not here, or John Popper. That was the dude who was the which one was the harmonica guy?
Oh,
anyway,
Blues Traveler.
Oh, there you go. That's right. So you said that there were a bunch of others, Razor. Would you please name one that he didn't already mention? You mentioned that was the one that he said, but you said there are others. Can you name one of the others for us, please?
Another way to possibly falsify evolution would be finding a combination. Like there's a what's the word? There's a thing that creationists have done where they say we should have a turcoduct if evolution is real. That's not true. If we found that, evolution wouldn't exist, because if we found something like a turcoduct, yeah, evolution is disproven at that point. Evolution never says that if you combine animals that they'll immediately become a thing. There needs to be compatible genitalia and compatible reproductive systems. A duck and a gator don't have that.
Worldview, though. I already accept that in my worldview. I believe that
that's not the point of the prompt, though. You said evolution isn't scientific. That's not the point of the prompt, though. Whatever your worldview is, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like that's not a symmetry breaker. That actually,
a turcoduct, like a turcoduct or a crocoduck would definitely not turcoduct. A crocoduck, Jesus Christ, a crocoduck would definitely be a way to falsify evolution.
Okay.
So basically, he basically listed two figurative unicorns, right? So, like I said with the first one, if most of our genetic build is due to function, right? We need to function according to the laws and the environment of reality.
Well, humans have broken evolution, but whatever.
So what we have to do is, yeah, that's weird, isn't it? It's weird that we have like primacy over everything else on Earth. Isn't that strange? I wonder how evolution explains for that. But anyway,
it explains because of our brain cavity. Our heads got bigger and bigger, leading from brain brain to make.
I got a question for you, Razor. Do you think some humans are more or less evolved than others?
Can you ask a serious question?
Yeah. So all humans around the globe at the same time, did we all hit the exact same levels of advancement at the same time, or no? What's wrong? Are you there?
Considering I'm sorry, I was trying because that question.
Yep, I'm gonna let you finish that, and then we'll go to our closings. Nope. Let him answer, Joe, and then we're gonna get to our closings. Go ahead, Razor.
Yeah.
He understands the question. He does. I promise. He gets it.
No. I'm not asking. I'm asking. Are you able to pull anything up on your screen? Like if I shared you something.
Yeah, drop it in the chat. In the chat of the Discord channel. But Razor, go ahead and answer the question. Then we're gonna get to our closings. So.
Okay, so first I want Razor to look at this. Now this first one, these are hypothesized to be the great ape, the great apes that we came from.
Gotcha. So okay. Yeah. We'll get to that. Like I said, let him answer the question, and then we're going to get to our closings. So
hold on, wait.
I understand. I've already added an extra 10 minutes. We've got questions, so let him answer your question. Do you believe, Razor? There was. Do you believe, Razor, that all humans have evolved at the same rate, or are equally evolved?
All humans like Homo sapiens, when they became Homo sapiens, the population of Homo sapiens all started showing up gradually, after I believe Homo erectus. So technically, if you want to dumb it down to beyond to like earlier, like preschool level, if you want to dumb it down to preschool level, sure. But if you want to actually talk about it entirely, you have to look at the different species that existed long before Homo sapiens, of which we are.
Okay.
Sure.
Which I showed to Horse, and I asked Horse to display it. Now, do you see that?
Yes, I will.
picture?
Yes, let's see what it is. Is
Sure.
it going to be the walk? Is it going to be the walk of evolution where I was by that one dude?
I looked this up earlier, and this is said to be one of our last.
Yeah. Do you have a link? Because I can't bring up just a picture. I've got to bring up like internet. So do you have a link?
Oh man.
That was why I can't bring it up. We need an actual source. We're only set up for like source work. So.
No, it doesn't work as
if
well.
you want to send the image,
I understand. Yeah. So that again, no worries. We don't have the ability to present visual aids.
I can show it on my end, right? So here, I'll do this. So
share a screen.
You could look at my camera, right? So these are pictures of what was hypothesized to be the form we came from, right? Do you see that?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's actually 3 different species.
Yeah, well, it's 3 different hypothesized species.
Sure.
Now,
yeah.
Okay, so and you say you think that we all evolved.
I know where he's
at the
going
same
with
time,
Yeah,
right?
no, I do too.
So
we all
would
do.
you say, like, if we looked at these 2 pictures here, would you say one or the other is closer to the ancestor?
See, I knew he was doing it.
Well, I mean, it's a fair question.
Do you ask it? Can you make the question more serious or?
No.
No, this is a serious question. This is actually a serious question. If you were to say that we all evolved to be equal at the same time, right? And I say, well, here's actually hypothesized what our ancestors.
May I ask you a question?
We've seen the picture. I'd like to see your face again.
Yeah.
So.
May I ask you a question that might be able to clarify?
Sure. Let him.
Question that might be able to clarify this.
I don't like being asked a question with a question.
May I ask you a question and see if I can clarify this? Because I want to be able to clarify it so I can answer it clearly.
I just want y'all to get through it so I can answer the question. So please just do it.
Fine. Go ahead.
No. This is not my debate. I still need to get you guys through your closings. But please, Razor, just answer the question.
So I need to know if you understand the thing that you agree happens. You agree adaptation is a thing, don't you?
If we have the same understanding of what adaptation is, yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you have the same understanding of what adaptation is compared to mine.
I think I have a somewhat similar. There might be some small things that are.
I'll give you a rough breakdown. I'll give you a rough breakdown of what I think adaptation is. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say we put like an elephant behind a silhouette, right? I could make 1,000 different changes to the elephant without you seeing any changes to the silhouette. That's what I believe adaptation is.
So like you think it's all internal?
Not internal. I could make external changes to the silhouette, but you can't see the silhouette.
Wonderful.
Changing.
Okay, wonderful. Right. Sweet, wonderful. You actually sweet. That's actually pretty close to what I'm thinking then. Okay, so when a certain portion of humanity once it became either Homo erectus or Homo erectus or Homo sapiens, certain groups from each of those different species that would later become their own Homo sapien went to different positions of the world after leaving the cradle of Gaia, as people call it, in Africa. They went to different areas where people who went north, their skin started to lighten, while people who stayed at the equator or went south, their skin either darkened or, again, because they went further away from the equator where more heat and more sun is active, their skin might have either lighter.
I get that. But phenotypically, I'm asking you whether through phenotype or genotype? Are there certain humans that are
Both.
closer to our ancestor than others? Yeah.
No, we're
And it
all
seems
no,
like
we're all
through
no,
phenotype,
no,
at
no,
least.
we are all constantly evolving, and we are all Homo sapiens right now and we're getting close to possibly sometimes some scientists are saying that within the next possible 5 to 10 generations, we could end up changing to what could be described as a Homo superior. Possibly. It's a hypothesis that's a prediction of what could happen for humans.
And it's possible we could look like apes again too.
All right. So I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to jump in there, and we're going to go ahead and go to our closings because I know the audience has some questions, and for fuck's sake, I want to get in there too. So even though I said I'm not going to engage with Joe until after the word war debate, so this is going to be very tricky. This is going to be very tricky for me to do what I'm going to try and do. So I'm feeding my questions to the chatters right fucking now. Anyways, Razor, thank you both, by the way, for as long y'all. I know y'all talked over each other a lot. It was what it was, but at the end of the day, you guys did calm down once I intervened, and you actually did try to engage with each other's arguments. I appreciate that. So that's it. We're going to go ahead and go to our 5-minute closings. 5 minutes is on the clock for you first, Razor. Give us your closing thoughts.
Sorry. So as we saw, my opponent didn't really have any way to say that evolution wasn't scientific. He simply speculated and used his personal incredulity of not understanding how sciences work or how they are done or how they are calculated and how they are in fact scientific. He conflated and pretend that evolution is just one thing that can be completely debunked because one question might be a little unanswerable now because he doesn't understand that proof is not a thing that science does. We look for evidence. We continuously rework our hypotheses and rework our numbers. We rework so many details until always trying our best to debunk our own theories, to debunk our own hypotheses, which is what science does. It does not go on to prove something. It continues to try and debunk itself with more and more evidence, which is part of the scientific method. So to answer the question, to answer the prompt that was here today, evolution is scientific. That is a known fact. That is a known fact in the mind of everyone. Even if science doesn't deal in facts itself so much as it deals in evidence. So if I were to use the scientific method to show how evolution is in fact scientific, the observation would be that it does many sciences. The hypothesis would be that these many sciences have many benefits when once applied, and the test is showing the years of agriculture, medicine, even technology and our understanding of our own ancestry are all things that show that evolution across all of its many iterations and disciplinary studies is in fact scientific.
And that's it. All right.
Yep.
So then in that case, we're going to go ahead and kick this over to you now. Kung Fu Joe, 5 minutes is on the clock for you to put your cherry on top. Let us hear it.
Oh, thanks again, Horseradish, for having me, and thanks, Razor, for coming in. My opponents for this topic are getting scarce, and I think that goes to show. I think this debate is another reason why, because I just kind of displayed that they can't answer any of the questions that, to the things that they claim supports their theory, right? I wanted to get into what would the symmetry breaker be between two or more competing hypotheses. And it is no doubt that the scientific method is the number one way to do that because it involves an experiment. The experiment is where you introduce X, remove X, repeat, and then you record data after that. Evolution can't do that. There is no. He ran from that probably because Ancom coached him to. He ran from there even being an experiment to prove whether or not a change is happening in life forms from an entirely different phenotype and genotype from one to another, right? He can't demonstrate that. So he ran from even confronting the scientific method, which was just turned out to be a cowardly tactic on his part. Then he wanted to, I tried to ask him, okay, well, if you don't want to use the scientific method, what else would you use? Like, what is scientific within this theory that would buttress or, provide some kind of evidence that this story you're giving me is true, right? He goes, well, it's, based on the bones, right? You look at the bones, as you could tell by the bones. He did the bones meme, right? And it's like, you look at the bones and, I mean, he says, look, you see the changes? There's changes. We look, if we dig up the rocks, if in this rock strata we find this group of bones, and in this rock strata we find a different group, therefore, one evolved into the other. I'm sorry, that's an extrapolation fallacy, right? You can't just make that judgment based on the layers. You have to show some kind of testable process. You have to show the introduction of some kind of causal mechanism, right? That is creating this event we call a change, where it is changing in phenotype and genotype from one thing into another. And a bone or a fossil can't do that because it's just a static object. There is no change there. So after that, we moved on to whatever falsifiability would be. And as you could see, he went to fairy tale land, right? And he might as well have pulled you out a fucking unicorn or the tooth fairy, right? He could have said, hey, you know what? If we find the tooth fairy, that would prove evolution is false. I mean, it's everything in my opening statement came true, like I'm fucking Nostradamus, right? And this is just what I do. You could find me on the internet. I'm glad to do this just over and over again. I could just kind of like repeat this script and just pound evolution into the fucking ground, one debate at a time. So with that, Horse, I thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So, you know the deal. We do not have anybody over on YouTube now, I think. It is entirely here in Twitch land. Joe, you are not streaming, correct? So you don't have anybody like... No. All right, cheers. Well, with that said then, we have at least one question from the chat right now. Hopefully, if you guys have any other questions you want to throw in here, throw at them. Just click that little link that keeps popping up every so often. I think it's still... it's still pinned in the chat. Thank you, Let's Chief. And we'll get your questions in front of them as well. And I may or may not have a question or two. So, first question, Razor. Is a fossil an event, yes or no?
It is the record of an event.
Okay. All right. Well, I had to ask.
Can I put it on my vinyl player?
Different sort of record, I think. But okay. Do we have any other questions coming from chat before I put my elbows in there? I'm gonna guess. Yeah, I actually figured that there would be a ton of them. I think they're all waiting in the lounge to get a chance to step in here.
Pay him money. Ask me questions. I want to talk. I did so much research.
If we hit $30, they get half.
Ask me to define stuff. I looked up so many definitions. Ask me to define stuff.
Then what,
please,
man? Then why didn't you when he asked? Ooh, I'm going to get into that. All right. So,
he didn't ask questions about the certain. He didn't ask anything about things I grabbed for defining because.
Okay. All right. So
there's certain things he didn't cover.
Sure. I'm going to ask Kung Fu Joe, please, would you, without interruption, give me your shortest, sweetest, most succinct explanation of where you were going to go with the bodies in the room and the weapons on the floor.
Sure. Yeah.
Skip any questions, but yeah, just give me the thought argument pattern there.
So the pattern, what I was trying to show Razor there is that there is actually no way you could come to the conclusion of which, if any, of the weapons in the room could have been involved in the crime without doing an experiment, without doing testing. So I was trying to show to him that you need the scientific method, which involves testing and experiment, in order to separate hypotheses. If one detective says, I think it was the axe, and another detective says, I think it was the samurai sword, well, now we got to do a symmetry breaker, aka an experiment, testing.
Well, so you can also just do comparative observations. Like, observation is a form of testing, isn't it? Is it not?
Yeah.
So you can just look at the wounds made and be able to make an assessment based on that observation. Is that a sufficient answer for the test?
Not exactly, because you have the capacity to analyze.
Well, yeah,
you have the capacity to analyze more than just that as evidence, right? So you could trace the blood samples. Sure. You can compare the cut marks to the weapons and see which cut mark, right?
You could do all of that, so yep. Those would be extra layers of confirmation, but it would not be the only ones necessary to have a hypothesis, right?
Right. But you could do testing, like there's blood splatter on the wall, right? From swinging the weapon.
Yep.
You could take each weapon and replicate.
You could do that, or you could look at it and make an extrapolation from your observations. You could look at it and then know that, well, it was obviously done in that direction, because if I was doing it this direction, the blood wouldn't be over there. We don't need to do experimentation to have that rudimentary understanding. We see that it's a cut. We know it was. We can rule out the blunt objects, right? So like we don't have to actually act it out in order to test this hypothesis.
My question to you, I guess, Horse, is
I'm just asking.
I know. Would you ever go backwards in time to a previous age of how forensics was done, where a lot of it was filled in with just guesswork, or would you do the most strenuous version of it that we have today?
Whatever I have access to personally would be my answer there. Still no questions coming in. So I'm going to go to you, Razor. So you said you gave me you mentioned that there were like 6 different stacks of sciences that led evidence to the theory of evolution. Well, how many was it? You said 6, 7? You rattled them off at one point when you were asking for clarification time. So
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so about 7 disciplines for evolution, and that's just of what I remember off the top of my head.
Perfect. You mentioned how much research you did for this. So if you would be so kind, Joe, I'll let you engage later in it, but let him just get through them. Will you give me each one by name and a 1-sentence explanation about its contribution to the theory?
I forgot to add a lot. I forgot to add certain. Taxonomy is going to be. Fuck! I always forget taxonomy. I forgot to write that one down. I had it in my face. But fucking goddamn it! Taxonomy is, from what I remember in my head, is the phyla that certain species will go into.
Okay. Next one.
Systematics is systematics is usually the god damn it. I know these words, and I forgot to write them down. Fuck me. I did research. I forgot to write these down. Systematics are usually going to be something along the lines of how certain systems of certain systems within each phyla or each animalia will work. God damn it. Yes, systematics will be usually a fuck. If my brain would work.
Got it.
God damn it, I should have had more water.
All right. Out of curiosity, Joe,
Sorry,
Joe, for the purposes of Razor, will you name? You got through 2 or 3 of them. What's the next one called?
No. The next one is paleontology. That one is the study of that is the study of like fossilized remains.
Okay.
Like majority of the time dinosaurs.
Okay. Next one.
Then there's biogeography. That one's going to be the placement of different bioorganisms around the world and the and how it affects their species or population of that area.
Okay.
Comparative anatomy, as we stated multiple times, it's usually how most bone structures or certain structures of each ancestor, all the way from their ancestors to now, how their anatomies compare. They they basically similar builds with slight differences over generations, but always have almost the exact same placement.
Okay.
Comparative embryology, that one is shown in when it comes to pregnancies, or even in like eggs.
Makes babies the same way.
That
Got
if
it.
you look at they end up looking the same. They end up looking the same way. Like there was the thought, like there was the misconception that one dude had, but he was super close when he drew the diagram of the different embryos and how close they looked, regardless of what species they were from. Humans, dogs, all that stuff. The embryos looked somewhat similar. He was super close, even though he was wrong, and science later corrected him. He was really close.
I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Molecular biology.
Okay, comparative molecular biology. So I'm going to jump in there real quick. God, why'd you say that last one? Because now I got 2 questions. So going back to what you were saying about those others, those most of those sounded to me more like classification methods, as opposed to things that specifically lend to or lend evidence to the theory of evolution, right? Like, because there are different types of embryonics, so that seems to make it like less connected, correct?
No, it's connected. It is still connected because each one of these things are always intermingling. Like with taxonomy and systematics, you need both of them in order to have the correct phyla, that in order to know the correct phyla where it goes, because of the system of the ecosystem that they live in. Like how does this species work, and like, are we able to put them in this spot, or do we need to move them to this spot on the data? Paleontology and biogeography. If you understand the biogeography, you can make predictions as to where you'll find certain fossils. Like Tiktaalik was one of the first fossils that we found that was predicted pinpoint, because they understood biogeography and then paleontology and how to dig up and preserve that fossil.
Got it.
And then compared to anatomy, embryology, and biology are all connected to one in a way, are all connected to one in some way. They just, each one of those different things are able to specify more when you get into them specifically.
Got it. All right. Now, Joe, so do you believe, address adaptation for me? What is adaptation to you? How does it happen? Do you believe adaptation is real?
I do believe that adaptation is real, yes.
What is the benefit of adaptation? Like what is, and this is an obvious, I'm not looking, it's not a trap. I mean, I'm leading you somewhere, but again, what is the benefit of adaptation?
The benefit would be that we could live in different temperate zones.
Okay. So Do all species exhibit adaptation?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. If one was to suppose that there was a grand design or master plan for the creation of these species, such as intelligent design, would one not think that it would be designed without the need for adaptation?
No, because its survival would be in conflict with nature.
By design?
Right. So it wouldn't make sense, right? Like,
How's that intelligent?
It would be intelligent to make us able to adapt to like, let's say God creates the world, right? It would be intelligent to create a being that could live on the world rather comfortably, reasonably. It's not perfect, right?
Sure.
We got to wear clothes.
Sure.
Kind of cold sometimes.
Yep. So if you adapt to your environment, you are more successful in your environment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you are more successful in your environment, you are able to continue your progeny, correct? Your lineage, your heritage, right? You get to make more babies because you're successful in your environment, right? And those babies get to go on and make more babies, right?
So the thing is, I parse this when between humans and the animal kingdom.
Sure. Well, you can pick either one, whether it's humans or animals. To me, it applies the same. So which would you prefer this to be about? The trait I'm describing, I mean.
The thing is, depending on what you're asking about, I'm going to give you a different
answer.
Yep.
Okay, you pick. Which one do you want to go with first? Give me both.
If you want to go with humans, I could give you humans.
Sure.
And then if you want to know the
so humans adapting to their environment makes them able to make more babies, makes more of them. Go on from there.
But so how we adapt is actually we have a free will. So part of it is, let's say I'm from Hawaii, right? Like my dad's Hawaiian, I'm half Hawaiian. When I go and I live in Hawaii, my skin gets a little darker, right? That would be like the genetic part of adaptation, just kind of at play.
That's actually that's cause and effect. That the sun is literally burning your skin. When you walk away from it, you don't adapt. You're not adapting. That's just like.
Well, I don't burn. That's the thing. I don't burn. I just get browner.
Right. That's tanning. Again, that's not adaptation.
You have a.
Adaptation would be you being able to suddenly breathe water.
What I'm saying is the native Hawaiians can walk around like in the sun and they don't burn easy. That's like an adaptation.
Okay. You know what? Fair enough.
That was an evolution.
Well, hold on. So the people who were able to have that response to the sun, right? They were able to make more babies and live longer, right? And carry that trait on to other humans who had that trait. Okay.
For humans, it's two parts, right? The first one I listed is an automatic kind of biological response in adaptation.
Okay.
The other thing that will determine adaptation is going to be metaphysics, because humans possess metaphysical properties.
Sure.
Aside, like something that the animal kingdom doesn't possess, right? So we could use our free will and our metaphysics to create a nuclear bomb that wipes us all out, right? That could be bad adaptation. Whether
what evidence do you have that animals? What evidence do you have that animals don't have a conception of metaphysics?
Well, so the way metaphysics in the way we understand it is we could form language.
Oh, I didn't know that language formation was metaphysics. All right, cheers. So let me one more quick question for you. You were asking in the debate about what about a fossil indicates that it was a record of an event. So when we watch a movie, we understand that that event is not currently happening. We understand that it is a series of single snapshots that, when put into a string, give us a actual representation of the event and as it transpired. We also understand that sedimentation over time, the ground goes on top of the ground, goes on top of the ground, and it blows around and so on and so forth. So we know that the further down we dig, we have no reason to assume that a fossil would voluntarily dig itself under the previous fossil layer to die. So if we go back deeper and deeper into the ground and we find subtle changes to the physical shape of a species and can therefore go back through time and see, would that be enough evolutionary evidence for you?
I actually love this question because it highlights perfectly my problem with the evolutionary theory. So, given that most life forms to have said existed on Earth throughout its entire existence were not vertebrates, therefore we only have access to 1% of all fossils or remains of the grand total 99% of said species that were to have inherited the Earth in the past, right? So if we were taking your movie example, right, it would be like you see a scene and then there's a bunch of missing parts, and then you go from a bedroom and then there's a bunch of missing parts, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a bank robbery. That's kind of what the analogy would be if you're really looking honestly at the fossil record, because what do they say? There are a bunch of missing links and missing fossils in between each iteration. If you were to look at the example I brought up earlier between the Pakicetus and the whale, if you look at an example of how many forms it went through, it's only going to show about 6 or 7, right? But that's not the way evolution sees it. Evolution says that it happened over 15 million years and more. It didn't just jump from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forms. It had to go through multiple iterative forms between that, but they don't have the evidence for that. They just fill in the gaps with a story.
In all cases, correct? There are cases where we have closer representative documentation, like through historical records, and we also see that it makes sense that things change over time based on adaptation and passed on heritage, right? But real quick, okay, so I want to go back to you now, and everybody, make sure you vote, because we've got about I'm going to do this for probably 11 more minutes before I look at the votes. So I'm just doing what I can to push back on them a little bit, since you guys aren't. So Razor.
Howard,
you were talking about the different flavors of scientific method. I'm very, very interested to hear you give me an explanation of how going into a scientific endeavor with a predetermined expectation of what you are going to find is not going to lead to confirmation bias, and how, if it does, confirmation bias is in any way good or beneficial to the scientific method.
I apologize. I repeat that last.
No worries. You said, it's okay. You said, yeah, I said a lot of words. You said that you believed that there were multiple different iterations, methods, or concepts of the scientific method. I believe that one of the ones that you said,
exactly.
Okay, you refused to engage directly with the scientific method as being the scientific method. You implied heavily that there were different the scientific methods. So one of the ones that you said, hang on, let me finish. One of the ones that you said was that you create a prediction and then you seek confirmation of that prediction. But in science, they refer to that as confirmation bias. If you are looking for evidence that supports your supposition, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be political, but this is common with MAGA people, where they will only find evidence that supports what they expected to find, instead of seeking evidence that contradicts it and testing the validity of it. If you go into a scientific endeavor looking to find a thing, odds are you're going to find it, or you're going to manipulate your perceptions of what you are finding to turn it into what you are looking for. So, would you please explain to me what scientific method you were talking about that doesn't involve confirmation bias?
Okay, so there is a massive misunderstanding then, because when I say that there's no such thing as the scientific method, I mean that it's never going to be as rigid. It's never going to be that it will follow this exact formula consistently. I said in my opener, the scientific method is not a formula. It's not magic either.
What's more rigid than
So when I
running
say
an
there's no such thing as
experiment?
let me finish. There's no such thing as the scientific method because it's not a formula. It is there's instead of you always going step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, you sometimes go step 1, step 2, back to step 1, back to step 2, back to step 1, back to then you can move on to step 3, then back to step 1 because something went a little wrong, then back to step 2, then back to step 3, then 4, then back to step 1, then back. There's no like immediate like just down the trail repeat that way. So when I say there's no such thing as the scientific method, I'm talking about that rigidness of saying you have to
want to
do
go in a
1, 2,
loop
3, 4, 5
instead.
repeats.
You want to do a loop. You want to say, I want to say,
You
hey,
have
tell me,
to.
what's the evidence? I say, what's the evidence? So you say, well, you look at the evidence. I'm like, how do you know that's the evidence? Well, you
That's
look at
not
the evidence. You just loop over and over
Please
again.
don't straw man my point.
Bro. How's
You are
that not
straw
what you're
manning
doing?
when you say that.
That's totally what you're doing. How do I know that's the
No, it's
evidence? You
not.
look at the evidence. You just do that over and over again.
No,
Okay.
I'm saying that you have that step 1, step 2, then then after
step
that
1?
hypothesis happens, you will end up
What is step 1 and
step
step
1
2?
is
Hold
usually
on, Kung Fu. Let him finish.
answer. Step 1 will be question question and observe. Observe and question. Those are that's step 1.
What are you observing? Yeah, you observe a fossil,
phenomena.
then what?
A phenomena.
A fossil. Let's say a fossil, right?
Okay.
You look at that fossil.
Yep. We're looking at a fossil, Joe. Go on with
now
it. I'm following along. Let's go, buddy.
No, I'm asking.
No, I know.
Razor.
I'm engaging
Yeah,
for
I know,
you.
I know.
Yep.
Like,
So I want to play. I want to play. Like I said, I've been pushing back. It's your turn, Joe. So yes, I'm looking at a fossil. Go on.
Yes. So we're looking at a fossil.
What's next is we sit. Okay, go ahead, Razor.
Sorry. Is we ask a question.
What do you ask?
How did it get like it could be something and here and let me finish. You need to let me actually answer without
Just finish.
jumping in at
Yes.
all here. You will ask possibly multiple questions. How did it get here? How old is this thing? What is this connected to? Why is it here? And did this possibly come from somewhere else? And then you start and then you make multiple hypotheses.
Whoa, one hypothesis.
You answer
at least
you
one
make multiple
hypothesis.
You make multiple hypotheses from that point onward.
Give me one hypothesis. What's one?
The hypotheses are possible answers to the questions you just asked. Let me finish the sentence. Let me finish the sentence and you'll understand what I was going to say.
No, you don't not answer my question and then say,
I'm trying to answer. Let me finish. I'm trying to. Let me finish. Jesus fuck. The next step is to make a hypothesis based off of the questions that you asked in the previous step, where you will so if the question, let me finish. If the question is how did it get here, you make the hypothesis of it possibly got here via insert a reasoning. Off the top of my head I can't think of one right now. If you let me
just
finish.
Keep talking, for fuck's sake, Razor. Please just keep talking.
If the question for the hypothesis, if the hypothesis is I believe it to be this many years old, you then can end up having the test be a dating method that is compatible with compatible with the rock layer that you found it in. Because there's more than one type of dating method. My fucking head. And then possibly after doing that, you have to go back to the hypothesis stage, grab that other question you had, and say, what
question?
era
What's
is this
what's the other
from?
question? Okay, what era? Yeah.
Yeah, what era is this possibly from?
Okay.
So again, another hypothesis when you ask that question, once after you ask that question will be, I believe it will be this. It will be from this era. And then, while using the tested method of this is how many years old it was, you can then look to what the era was and go, oh, those overlap. Therefore, it's obviously this many years old, and it's from this era. And then you go back to your hypotheses to answer the questions you asked in the questioning stage, which then can go back all the way to the testing stage, to then connect it even more. You're making multiple connections all the way in the testing of the hypotheses, and then you gather all of your results. And once all of your hypotheses were correct, you then
We know the
communicate those
process.
results.
We know the
Well,
process.
let me
Tell us
finish.
how it
Yes,
specifically. Be specific with evolution.
you
I'm
asked what
asking you.
how would the process
No,
go?
no, but no, I don't. I didn't ask you. I in accordance
Well,
with
you didn't ask.
evolution. Tell me. No, come on. We use the fossil example, right? You look at the let's stay on the fossil, right?
I'm telling you that.
Yeah,
So
we're on the
all those
fossil.
data,
What's
so all
next?
that
What's the
data is gathered. So then all that data is gathered about its age, its where it's
uh-huh?
from, where it comes from, what era it comes from,
And then what?
and I guess another question would be, what species what species is
Hmm?
what modern species has an anatomy similar to this?
Why would you?
That
Why
could
would
be
that
that could be
matter?
a question. That would be a question. That would be a question that could be asked. The
Well, you only have one
hypothesis can be.
fossil.
Let me
You
finish.
don't have the
The
whole. You don't have
hypothesis.
access. Wait, wait. You don't
Let
have
me
access to
finish.
the entire
Let me
anatomy. You have
finish.
one
Let me
fossil.
finish. Let me finish. There are experts who, because they are experts, are able to take bone shards, and due to the shaping of that bone shard, can what's the word?
Back to the bias again.
They can
Right?
map it. They can map out the rest of the bone,
Mhm.
like how we have modern day. Have you ever seen the show Bones?
Yeah. Yeah, so what if
Yeah, you know
the
how she's
example
able to
Horst
take those
brought up
small
with
skull
the
cap things and then
yeah, no, I
put
let you
together a
talk a
small
long
skull?
time now. I did let you talk a long time. So did you know how earlier Horst brought up the example of like the MAGA people using their bias? What if I didn't actually have a reason to trust the people in the lab? So you're just appealing to like a fallacious appeal to authority.
You're
Like,
not
well,
appealing.
because
You
hold
so
on,
I can
wait,
answer.
wait,
I
hold
can
on,
answer that.
wait, hold on. I'm
I can.
still
I know where
talking.
you're
I'm
going.
still
I know
But
where
talking,
you're
let
going.
us let
right?
us
I'm
hear
still
because I
talking,
don't know
right?
where he's going.
I'm
Please let
still
me hear
talking,
it.
right? Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I'm
fair
still
enough.
talking, right? So what if I think that the people in the lab who are pro-evolution are anti-Christian and they just have a bone in the fight to just use evolution as a way to debunk and get rid of Christianity and push their doctrine in school and push ours out? What if I think they just have an agenda?
What's wrong with that?
My God.
Let's say Razor says
That
sure.
would be that. Yeah, that would be what
Yeah.
could best
How does
be
that relate?
So
that is what is
so
to be
why would I
described as the.
why
Let
would
me
I
finish.
trust their
Yeah,
I'm answering. I'm
let
answering.
him
I'm
answer.
answering.
Let him
I'm
answer. Kung
answering.
Fu. Go ahead,
I'm
Razor.
answering.
Yep.
That would be a genetic fallacy, because the way that science is supposed to work, even if you don't trust the very specific people who are doing these scientific experiments or gathering this scientific data, they then give you the methodology of their stuff and say, here's how we did it, Here's what it says. If you don't believe us, take this data, do it yourself, and try to prove us wrong.
Okay, so how
That
so
is what
how
science
did
does.
how from one fossil did they determine that it was an entire species that was taxonomically like or phenotypically like similar to a current species? How from one like one single fossil, you don't have the DNA because it's a rock, right? You don't have the DNA. You just say, "Oh, it looks similar," right? It looks similar based on one bone. How do you extrapolate that to it's a past version of a human or whatever it is, a chicken?
Okay, you're being really weird about like what bone we're going for. Are we going for like a dinosaur? Like, let's be sure we're clarifying in this.
Let's say you found a dinosaur bone, right?
Okay.
Like how would you know?
Okay,
it was a
I just want to be sure which bones we're talking about because my answer.
Dinosaur bone.
Let's
He
say
said
you
it.
found let's say you found a dinosaur bone and you said, "Dude, this is obviously a dinosaur skeleton." And I come along and I say, "Dude, that is obviously a dragon."
All right, so you can call it a dragon or you can call it a dinosaur. Maybe a dinosaur is a dragon and a dragon is a dinosaur. All right, so we do actually have a question from chat real quick. Hold on, we do have a question from chat, and I think this is for you, Razor. Why didn't all water creatures adapt to one shape? Why do we have octopuses, eels, prawns, crabs, etc.? Yep. Well, okay, but he doesn't believe that they've. Yeah, he doesn't believe in adaptation. Or well, no, he believes in adaptation. Okay, so it is Q for J, KFJ. I thought that was like, man, I wanted some fried chicken. All right, so Joe, why didn't all water creatures adapt to one shape? Why do we have octopuses, eels, prawns, crabs, etc.? Why haven't they died yet if they can't adapt to the perfect shape for water?
Right. So since we're not debating my view, I could just tell you what.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm curious. Yeah. We're past the debate at this point.
No. Yeah. So yeah, God obviously created everything as it is, and it just created. It just gave all kinds. Dude, it's my answer. Calm down. It's all kinds.
I'm not going.
You can calm down now, bro. Hey, take another Adderall.
I don't know why you're saying calm me down. Okay,
calm down, dude. Bro, calm down. It's my time.
I am
Hold on. He
calm.
asked me a question. Calm down, bro.
I know.
Anyway,
let's all calm down and please answer the fucking question.
Yeah, sure. I was trying. But anyway, yeah, God made everything as it is, and within every kind, He gave it the ability to adapt, not limitlessly, but within limits of its kind.
Okay, so if a fish is never going to learn to fly and a bird is never going to learn to swim.
Well, a bird is never going to become a fish, and a fish is never going to become a bird.
Okay, so a bird is never going to learn to breathe underwater, basically.
Well, no, they could do certain specialized tasks, right? But it's never going to be like a bird is never going to become not a bird.
Can I ask of a specific type of species?
Sure. Yeah. Huh.
Have you seen the lungfish, or what people call the mud skipper?
Maybe.
Fuck that thing.
Been a while. I guess it's pretty.
You're probably thinking of the blobfish. Unfortunately,
maybe.
The blobfish is more of a deep sea thing. The mud skipper.
Mud skipper?
Lungfish or mud skipper. I think it's the lungfish specifically, but people call it the mud skipper because it's a fish that has lungs and gills because it mutated and it's able to walk on land. It uses its fins to walk on. It uses its fins to walk on land, which is a form of evidence to show that our ancient ancestors, the older lungfish, can could get out of the water and become more land dwelling creatures over multiple generations. As the mudskippers will usually go back to the water after laying their eggs on land, and then those fish will come. Then those fish that were that got birthed from those eggs will go back to the water, but then come back to land. And as each generation goes on, they will stay on land more and more until it becomes possibly a lizard. If as people saw what Horseradish was showing there, they start having a very lizard-like look to them, don't they? They look like they're starting to become more lizards because they are becoming more land dwellers. Like
we've actually never observed them to change. There's no evidence. No, there's no evidence to say that.
No, we have legitimately seen them like stay on land longer and longer time until they if humanity continues on.
Evolution is just adaptation over a long enough timeline.
Well,
that's micro. You're because you believe him because you've already stated before you've stated before in the past that you think microevolution is a thing, but you don't believe in macroevolution.
So
right?
So the way what I use when I use the term microevolution, and it is
talking adaptation.
Separate. Hold on. It does have a separate definition. But the word I use for my particular worldview is adaptation. Now they overlay a lot, but I use the word microevolution to talk to atheists to, as kind of like to break the language barrier so they know what I'm talking about.
We don't need to do that. We understand. And again, I don't know why you keep bringing up the atheist part.
No, that's why
there are atheists who believe you're nonsense.
Actually, for what it's worth, in just a second, I want to go ahead and take a look at the scores so we can actually move into a little bit. I want to get more involved because I'm about to make a case for you, Joe, that'll make you agree with evolution. So that said, okay, so we're going to go ahead and give you guys the last couple of seconds. Lock it in. If you're in Lethy's chat, if you're in Razor's chat, if you're in anybody's chat, fucking click that link. Give us the vote. Tell us which of these two you think made the best arguments tonight. Please, we are not looking for you to tell us who you like the most or who you agree with. I am asking you to please vote based on who you think made the best arguments, presented their case the best, and controlled their conversation as they wanted to. So, that said, 5, 4,
That's
3.
a hard ask.
I know it is, but we do it every week. All right, where are we at? Boom. We got a pretty good turnout tonight, kids. Drum roll, please. That is very close. So it is actually 57-42 for a 6-4 win to Razor. But it is a 12-9 vote. So again, at the end of the day, it goes to you, Razor. But the audience says it was a really good battle, gentlemen. So I appreciate that. 6-4 for the AF. And we all were winners tonight because we got to see that happen.